right, going live. All right, welcome YouTube to number 27 for Wizard and Glass Book Club. Let's see what's going on here.
Uh-oh.
Is it showing it on your side? Showing me like a countdown. Oh, there we go. It was showing a countdown. Yeah, now it's showing right. Okay, that was weird. I've never seen a countdown showing my side thing over here before. All right, but yeah, we're here for our book club for June here in the waning days of June. But let's go ahead and hit the intro and get started.
The Dark Tower by Stephen King. The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed. Go then. There are other worlds than these. Death, but not for you, gunslinger. It's time we had our own palaver, I think, and it's going to take a while.
And yet, dauntless, the slug horn to my lips I set, and blew. Child Roland, to the Dark Tower came.
We are content, one from many. Let the palaver begin.
All right, hello and welcome to Dark Tower Palaver. This is our podcast covering Stephen King's magnum opus, The Dark Tower series, and the extended King universe. But of course, in a book club, there's no getting into the rest of the universe. We are strictly in the Dark Tower realm. We are currently in the record, complete record breaking, right? Because then we just matched the record recently, so we are now in the record breaking territory for book clubs. The 27th book club for Wizard and Glass, and yeah, we're getting close-ish, but yeah, we still have a number of episodes to go for this book, that's for sure. My name is Tad.
And I'm Peter.
And yeah, welcome. We obviously our whole June month was offset a bit, so we were finally getting around to our episode, which would have aired last week technically, which means that scheduling-wise, just know that we will be back a week from today for our new roundtable. So and then after that, we'll be back on course. I mean, we usually have some shenanigans in the summer. This might be all of it, but who can say, really?
It's tentatively all of it so far.
More
we don't have any plans to change anything else, but
yeah, more likely than not, we're now good and set for with our schedule. Of course, barring illnesses and stuff. Captain Trip season is upon us.
That summer cold is always there. Every time it comes up on my time hop, where it tells you like your past statuses and everything, I see those ones where it's like, I hate summer colds. It always makes me think I have Captain Trips, and I'm just like,
yeah. Have you ever read The Stand this time of year? Like,
oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's one of my statuses where it's like, I can't believe that I'm sick and reading The Stand at the same time.
But it was actually
it's like in mid-July when that stat, or mid-June, somewhere around now.
Yeah. Perfect time to read The Stand, that's for sure. I mean, I've at one point started to kind of like planted my flag in this time of year, and then my problem is now that I read it annually, is that by the time we get to this time of year again, I'm jonesing for it. So it's like I've kind of like almost like artificially set it up. Like I don't like, it isn't a thing for me where it's like I must read it in like late June. It's just like I hold off as long as I mean I was craving it a month and a half ago. I was like, I want to get it.
No, I gotta hold off more.
Gotta hold off.
Especially since our hangouts in August and September are dedicated to it.
Yeah,
you can't read it in May. That's too soon.
Indeed.
Not that you don't have it like memorized.
That's true. That's what I was about to say. It's the episode would be a complete shambles, of course, because I haven't read it. I don't even know how many. I wish I had kept count, but I know I've got to be approaching 20 would be my guess, somewhere thereabouts. So first of all, let's jump on into the introduction. So scheduling stuff's out of the way now, but we'll in the introduction side. So we don't have a spoiler warning for this episode. We sometimes have a spoiler section at the end of these episodes, but the whole premise of the book clubs is these are safe episodes to listen to so long as you are at least caught up to us, if not surpassed us. But if you're behind us somehow, this is not a safe episode for you. We will discuss everything from what we're covering in this episode and back. And I don't think we have any notes for any spoiler stuff. So unless anything strikes us in the midst of our conversation here, we won't even have a spoiler section in this episode, most likely. If you want to find the show, you can find us on Apple Podcasting, stream us on Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, or any traditional podcasting service of your choice. And then if you want to find us here on YouTube, on the YouTube side, it's youtube.com/darktowerpalaver. You could join us for our live streams. We're here every other week, pretty much every fortnight. Of course, the obvious difference now is we have an episode a week from today. But of course, if you want to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications, you'll be notified, all that kind of stuff. I do keep the schedules. I try to keep the schedules out at least a month or so. And usually when we're going to change something, I will go and change the preset on the upcoming live stream. So they'll change on your side too. So if you ever go into our channel, look at it, it'll show you like the dates and times for the future episodes. And that's the great thing too, because if you're somewhere on the other side of the planet, you can always see it and it'll show you your time. Google does all that adjusting for you, so you know what time we're going live if you want to join us. And
it does the math for you.
Yes, indeed. And then next up, if you want to find the show notes, you can find that over at darktowerpalaver.com. That is the spoke at the center of the Dark Tower Palaver wheel. We usually have show notes on that for every episode, but of course we don't do show notes for the book clubs. But it does have links for everything, like all the stuff that Peter's going to share, as well as pretty much everything that we have Dark Tower Palaver should be over there. It's kind of the one-stop shop for Dark Tower Palaver. Then if you want to support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/darktowerpalaver. With that, you get access to our monthly hangouts, which are exclusive on the Patreon side. You also get access to our Discord server, so you could see all kinds of shenanigans. You could send Peter, emojis throughout the week, and that's always fun.
Saw that really awesome Lego set that was posted last night. For the Dark Tower Palaver.
Yeah,
that one of our gunslingers posted.
Yeah, indeed. Or you can send Ermot remembrances. If you just randomly on a Wednesday afternoon, Peter can get something about a slimy snake. So that's always fun. Then if you want to contact the show, you can let us know, or you can contact us in a number of ways that Peter can let you know how to do that.
Best way to reach us is through email. It's show@darktowerpalaver.com. And then we have a Threads Instagram. It's all one word. It's Dark Tower Palaver. And then we have our Blue Sky account. It's at darktowerpalaver.bsky.social. And then we have our Twitter still. It's at Dark Tower Pod. That's at Dark Tower POD. And then Facebook is facebook.com/darktowerpalaver. And check out our merchandise. It's tpublic.com/users/darktowerpalaver. Get yourself a #TadIsTerrible shirt, sticker, pillow, phone case, hat.
You can get the classic. You can get the classic logo as well.
This is the classic logo right there. That's the dark.
But if you want to get it to say the Dark Tower,
#Tad is terrible.
If you want it to say just Dark Tower Palaver and no, slander involved, you can do that.
Sir,
I'm also sporting my Ct9-13 Wizard and Glass shirt with the Outlook. There may be a reason for that. So. And thank you for the snake emoji in the chat, Baraki. I always appreciate that. So let's go ahead and dive on in. So we are currently in part 3, which is titled Come Reap. We are in chapter 6. We are midway through. We will finish chapter 6 and dive into chapter 7. Just as a reminder for all of our structuring, the story that Roland is telling here is all of these first 2 parts, these 2 middle parts, and both of them have 10 chapters. So we are 70% of the way, probably 60-something percent of the 65% maybe of the way through by the end of this episode through Roland's story. In terms of not page count or anything, but just the way it's all structured out. We're 7 out of 10 subchapters the way through, or almost through this section. So where we left off, we had I looked at that and now I am blanking. It was I remember there was the blow up with
Cordelia,
and
Susan was in her dad's office out in the barn,
and found the fact that Paige is ripped out. So
just further proof that he was murdered. Right. Yeah. Shimi went to Seafront and got fireworks from Susan.
Yeah,
we knew that. Roland, Reynolds and them are scheming, and it looks like we have all that ready. And then we did get a scene with Rhea, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's true. Some always good to visit Rhea. That's always a happy thing. It pretty much the way the whole last episode felt to me was very much like setting the board up. We were very, very close. I think we were only a few days removed from Reap, so I think it was
It's
like
like
three or
it's
4
the
days
week before is what it says in one of the subchapters. Also, we had Cuthbert and Elaine went out and set the gunpowder down in Eyebolt Canyon. I forgot about that.
I feel like almost the entire episode really felt like most of the setting the stages for the final step. It's like when you're watching a heist movie. You know, there's always those last steps before the heist starts where they're like setting up the getaway truck and setting up.
They go over like one more time, like, all right, here's the plan, and then maybe while they're going over the plan one last time, you see like, and then you're going to park the dump truck under the overpass, and you actually like cut to, you know, Bob parking the, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So that's kind of what it all felt like. And now let's go ahead and dive on in. We are starting in Subchapter 9. Let's see. So this is my subchapter, right?
Yes.
Now I'm losing my mind.
Yes, sir.
It's one thing that's funny. We never really mark them in any way, and like we don't even always get the first notes on our section. So like I was like, I think it's mine, but suddenly I was doubting myself. So yeah, subchapter 9. So Olive Thorin crept from the room she now slept in to the one she had shared for nearly 40 years. The floor was cold, but it was not the only reason she was shivering. She slid in bed next to the gaunt, snoring man. He turned the other direction, his knees and back cracking loudly. That seems to be a very common thing with this guy.
Yeah.
She hugged him dispassionately. She just needed to share some of his warmth. He stirred, and she thought he might wake up and find her sharing his bed for the first time in ages. She hoped he woke. She didn't dare to wake him herself. She had used up all of her courage getting in here again after having one of the worst dreams she had ever had. She figured if he woke, she would share the dream with him, the dream of a vast bird, a cruel golden-eyed rock that flew above the barony on wings that dripped with blood. Now that's an image. That is metal as fuck.
Right?
Wherever its shadow fell, there was blood, and the shadow fell everywhere. The barony ran with blood from Hambry to Eyebolt. She had also smelled a big fire on the wind. She had run to Hart's study to tell him, but he was dead. His eyes had been gouged out with a skull in his lap. So, yeah, I mean, that's all very metal of Olive here.
Yeah.
She's having some wonderful dreams in my mind. I mean, this
of course you would think that.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, just set this to like a heavy bass line and you know, some ripping guitar, and that's about as metal as it gets. So first of all, yeah, metal dream. But second, we know enough about both plants to know this is a premonition, though the amount of blood is concerning. You know, the fire we've understood from the last chapter. I think it was a few chapters back, or the few episodes back, that Roland finally revealed most of the plan, or pretty much all the plan, I think. We know most of it. He revealed it to his whole team finally, which let us in on it. We obviously saw them, like you mentioned, dropping the gunpowder near the mouth of Eyebolt Canyon. So the smoke makes sense to us. The fact that it's going from the barony, or from Hambry to Eyebolt, we know Eyebolt is a big thing. So it just feels to me like all the planning that we've seen, her dream is very, very
it's a little too accurate if you're not a superstitious fella.
Yes, indeed. So that's but again, the blood is very concerning. I mean, I don't think that any of us necessarily have any idiot ideas that there isn't going to be blood involved here. This is, I
mean, Roland plans to kill everyone, right?
Yeah,
like, that's his whole plan. Just lead them into Eyebolt.
I mean, everyone that's against them. They're not going to massacre the town.
No, not the town. No,
we're not going to go like Roland Book 1 here.
No,
so this is young bushy-tailed Roland.
That's true.
So
he only takes the bad people from the town.
But with the dream basically covering the entire thing with blood, kind of makes me think like, oh my god, like how bad is this going to get? Like, is this going to be like an echo of Tull? I mean, I know this comes before in their world, but for us as readers, it would be a flashback to Book 1 Roland. I just remember thinking that because I was like, wait, the whole fucking thing is just covered in blood everywhere its shadow goes. There's blood, like it just, and
the shadow fell everywhere.
The shadow fell everywhere. Like, yeah, it just didn't seem. It doesn't seem comforting, is all I'm saying. So, and then Baraki says maybe Olive has the touch in her own way. Yeah, and that could very well be. I have some further thoughts on that a little bit later as well.
Yep.
Also, I forgot to throw it in the slideshow, but I did. I was going to grab a picture of a rock to see, because there's actually some images if you Google image search roc, R-O-C. It's a largely Arabian mythological creature. It's largely an Arabian mythology, but it is a very intimidating bird. And I had intended to screen grab that and put it in the slideshow, but of course I forgot. So
That's all right.
but yeah, if anyone wants to Google it, it's definitely an interesting looking bird for sure. I don't think I'd ever looked it up while reading this before. I always just kind of like breeze by stuff like this. And in fact, I don't even know if I've ever heard the term roc that means a bird like that. So
Yeah.
I had to Google it to be like, okay, I obviously because of the way she describes it, we know it's a bird. But I'm like, is this something that King's inventing for this, or is this like something that exists in like mythology or something?
I honestly never knew that it was something different. I always thought it was just his way of saying rook.
Yeah,
because that's what they call the lookout, right? Is like it's a rook skull.
Yeah.
So I thought that was just like King's way of like, it's close to our world, but it's not. It's just a little bit different, you know?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that it was like a legendary. I just looked it up. Today I learned.
Yeah, indeed. So, what do you got here?
So I just have to ask, what would have happened if Thorin had woken up? You know, like she says that she would share her dream with him, but like, I don't think we've ever seen Olive and Thorin actually interact, have we?
Not
like
if we have, it's not meaningful.
Like no, I don't think they've even had like a conversation in front of us, you know, kind of thing, or said two words to each other. Because like even at the welcome dinner, he had Susan on his arm. That's where Roland sees her for the first time.
Yeah.
After meeting her on the road, and then at dinner, she sat down with the losers, and has Susan next to him. So it's like, we've never even seen them. This is the first time they're in like the same room together. Almost, it feels like, you know.
Yeah, you know.
So it's just kind of interesting to think like, how would that actually play out?
It did just strike me in terms of Flanagan's stuff. I would say the Dudley lady from Hill House.
Yeah,
her as Olive. You'd have to age her up, obviously, but like I think she could be a decent Olive.
Oh, there you
Thorin.
go.
So. Because that thing is, the Flanagan family is obviously vast. There's a lot going on there, but
and more keep getting added every year.
But when you talk like older characters, I don't think we have as many older. I mean, there's a few here and there, but none like Bruce Greenwood. You know, Carl Lumbly that plays
Mark Hamill's up there in age.
Yeah, but most of them are men. Like
exactly.
we don't have as many old. I mean, they're the women. There is an age range for sure, but none of them are necessarily like Olive Thorin's age.
Yeah,
so
because none of them survive that long. Flanagan just kills them.
Yeah, or degloves them.
Yes.
I got even like trying to think in some of the other movies like Doctor Sleep, like, you know, like of course some of them are the true not are old, but the only ones that really show age are like Grandpa Flick.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, good stuff. So going on here, instead of waking in his sleep, he took his hand like took her hand like he used to before he started eyeing young girls or even the serving wenches. And she decided she would just lie here and be still and let him hold her hand to enjoy the feel of the old days for a bit. When everything had been right between them, she slept a bit herself. When she woke at dawn's first light, he had let go of her hand and had scooted away from her to the far edge of the bed. It would not be good for him to find her here in the urgency of her night, and the urgency of her nightmare was now gone. She looked at him once more and fixed his askew nightcap and smoothed his clothing a bit and slipped back into her room like a phantom. So that is the end of the subchapter. Yep. So poor Olive, I think we've pretty much said that almost every time she's been mentioned. I feel like there's never a time that you're necessarily feeling good about her. So I remember thinking this is probably a good chapter to make sure you still hated Thorin enough before he was murdered, because obviously that seems to be what's going to happen, right? Like that's the plan's been revealed by his sister, as a matter of fact, like with the coffin under. So it seems like he's on his way out. So I kind of like the way I view story, you know, there's times like you got to make sure, like in a horror movie, the person that's going to get the most brutal death, make sure people understand either throughout the whole thing or in their last moments, like do something to where they deserve that death. Yeah.
The guy being tortured by the killer earned it by being a dick earlier, you know, that kind of thing.
And we haven't really seen Hart much in a while. I mean, the attack on Susan, I mean, that was months and months and months. I mean, I know we only do an episode a month, but that's been a long while ago in terms of like reading through the book. So it might be easy to kind of overlook like the fact that he is a piece of shit. So it's good to remind it. And I think King's done a good job here to kind of remind us both how he's treating Olive, but also like, you know, mentioning like him looking at girls and serving wenches.
Yeah,
and
young girls. I mean, let's remind ourselves that Susan is 16.
Yeah, exactly. So
and he's in his 60s.
Yeah, gross. Which is funny because I just realized that when reading this the first time, most of the piece of the Coffin Hunter's plan I figure would happen. I did save some doubt about the boys' plan, but it just in terms of like we've heard both plans now, I almost like took the Coffin Hunter's plan almost to full, like it would all happen. Right now, of course, like our guys are gonna have to respond to it, our boys. But like with the boys' plan, like I was from the first time I read it, I just remember being suspicious. Where I'm like, "Okay, how much of this is gonna go wrong?"
Right.
And I think that must just speak to the way that King wrote this.
But you didn't have that feeling with Jonas's plans, is what you're saying?
Yeah, Jonas is.
Okay.
I feel like it's probably gonna go 99% his way, like because it feels like. And I think that's the way King's written it, to where it's like the Coffin Hunters are not like bumbling idiots. They are capable, and the fact is our heroes are children. They're trained children, but they are children. So I guess there was just part of me that was like, kind of when you're going into the heist movie, you know that something's got to go wrong, because it's like, if the heist went perfectly fine, like where's the drama? And you end up being like, what did I just watch this movie for?
Go watch a 90-minute movie of a perfect heist.
It's boring as hell.
That doesn't happen.
Like, but there was just part of me though, it's like, okay, and when you're setting up plans like this in books or movies or TV, shit's gonna go wrong. And I'm like, okay, when I'm looking at it, okay, I'm like, okay, King in a very short period of time showed us the Coffin Hunters plan and our boys' plan. I'm like, one of these has got to go wrong, and obviously they are in conflict with each other. But it was just kind of struck me interesting that the first time I read it, I thought, okay, the Coffin Hunters plan is going to work most of the way, and the boys is going to go fucking sideways. And of course, then we get the reveal. Obviously, the Coffin Hunters are going to be moving a day early, so that may be a bit the biggest part of the kink in the plan. But yeah, definitely poor Olive. I feel bad for, you know.
She has such a sad story. Like from start to finish, you never feel good about her. There's never anything that's like, oh, at least she has, you know, a son to take care of, or at least she has this, or she has that, or anything like that. Just like you said, you nailed it perfectly. Every time she's mentioned, it's just, oh,
yeah,
you know, it's just like, oh, this poor woman.
I do remember around this point, kind of thinking these plans are going to be rolling soon. And I did remember reading this chapter and thinking, like, if they fucking kill her, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's just one of those things where it's like collateral damage happens. And I started to worry that the collateral damage could be her on the town side. You know, yeah, and we're going to get into it a little bit later, but I also was, you know, there's a party that knows Roland's going to survive because he's in the story later on.
Right.
We don't know about his friends, though, so it's just like, Kate.
Well, we know that they die because he's the last, right?
Yeah.
So we know that something has to happen to Cuthbert and Alan.
Yeah.
Is it here?
Yeah.
That's the question.
Yeah,
right?
and it's like,
and that's why there's still drama, even though we know that Roland survives. It's still like we've come to care about Cuthbert and Alan over the course of not only this book, but Cuthbert's in book 1 a lot.
Yeah.
In every flashback, Cuthbert's there.
And we love him.
I mean, what's not to love?
As I'll say, I don't know if I've ever talked to anyone that actually doesn't like Cuthbert.
Loud, obnoxious, makes jokes. I mean, sounds like a great guy, if you know what I mean, Tad.
And not a junkie.
No, not a junkie.
So,
well, you could argue that maybe he's a junkie for the adrenaline rush, you know,
or windbaggery.
Windbaggery, exactly.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, never shutting up.
Yeah.
So let's go on to Subchapter 10, because that was the end of Subchapter 9.
Yeah.
So the Midway boost opened in Greenheart 2 days before the Reaping Fair. Let's stop right there. Time check. 2 days.
Yeah. Which means 1 day.
Which means 1 day before the
Coffin Hunters,
Hunters move. Yep. The first folks would come down to try their luck at the games. There was also a pony train, a cart filled with laughing children pulled along a figure-8 narrow-gauge rails. This is then interrupted by Eddie asking Roland if the pony was named Charlie, and Roland says he doesn't think so since they have an unpleasant word that sounds like that in the high speech. Jake asks what word, and Roland says the one that means death. I got a shiver up my spine when I was doing like my homework this morning for this. I forgot all about this interruption by Eddie, and that Roland explains like Charlie and the word death, because every other time that was mentioned in this book, that was inside of his head. He never explained it to them.
Yeah, and that's the note I had. Has he not told them? Because Char goes back not just this book, but last book.
He keeps it
like,
all to himself.
Halfway through the third book, when Jake gets pulled through, he has the Charlie the Choo Choo.
Yeah.
And it's just wild to me because I think
I remember the one in book 3 where it's after they have the little campfire with like reading Charlie the Choo Choo and everything like that. And then everyone separates and goes to bed. But then we have that scene. I think if I'm remembering right, it's that scene where Eddie's like, "Hey, stop dragging us. We're walking willingly," like that.
Yeah.
Kind of scolding Roland a little bit. And then Eddie leaves, and Roland's like, "I wonder if I should have told him that, Charlie, Char means death." It's like Roland thinking inside his head. It might not be exactly there, but there's a point where Roland's like, "I wonder if I should tell them that."
Yeah.
And he does it, and then it's mentioned again in the beginning of this book, but he doesn't tell them again.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's wild that he hasn't told him yet. So. But yeah, ultimately, again, tick, tick, tick. The clock is pretty much done now. I mean,
it's almost double zeros.
Yeah, pretty much. We're about as close as you can get, especially because 2 days means 1 day. That's the thing that we got to keep remembering here is we're not counting down to Reap anymore for at least a couple episodes now. We've understood as readers that day before Reap Eve is truly when shit's going to go sideways.
Yep.
So
exactly.
Yeah.
So, going on, Roy DePape stood watching the pony, remembering with some nostalgia his own cart rides and how most of his had been stolen. When he had his fill, he turned and sauntered down to the sheriff's office. Herc Avery, Dave, and Frank Claypool were cleaning an odd and fantastical assortment of guns. DePape couldn't figure it out at first, but the sheriff looked off to him like weird. Finally, he realized it was the first time that he had ever seen the sheriff not eating, or at least having a plate of food close at hand. DePape,
honestly, that's probably about the same for us.
Hey, that's a way to live, man.
Have we ever seen him not eating us as readers?
I mean, the one time I would say is when they came to give they came to give him the list, and he just came out of the shitter. So he had just eaten, gone to the bathroom, and then was talking with them. So I think maybe that. But after the traveler's rest, they woke him up out of bed.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah,
pretty rare though.
Yeah, exactly. DePape asked if they are ready for tomorrow. Avery gives him a half irritated, half smiling look and asks, "What the hell kind of question is that?" One that Jonas sent him to ask, DePape said, and Avery smiles, falters a little. Avery says they are ready and asks, "Can't you see we are?" And he sweeps his meaty arm over the guns, like, duh, see, we're ready. DePape could have quoted how the proof is in the pudding. What the proof in the pudding was in the eating, but he didn't see the point. Things would work out if Jonas was right about how fooled the boys were. If they weren't fooled, they would likely carve the sheriff's fat butt off and feed it to the closest pack of Wolverines. It didn't matter to Roy either way.
Yeah, I will also say I think I've kind of alluded to the potential of this because it feels like in the present, quote unquote, in this story, not this, but like Roland with the new quartet and stuff. In that time, it almost seems like guns are just non-existent in this world. Like just Roland's guns, like seemed like that. I mean, I get.
Well, I mean, not a single person in Tull had a gun.
Yeah,
that just tells you like kind of like the extent of it. It's like, how do you have an entire town set old Western style?
Yeah.
And not a single person has what if there's a coyote? What if there's,
Yeah.
Nope, not a single person had a freaking gun to challenge Roland.
Yeah.
So that just shows you like what Tad's saying is like,
but
this world is like devoid of guns.
Yeah, but there's been a couple guns mentioned in this story previous to this, and it made me wonder in Roland's day before the world moved on, was there more guns? Not just I don't think they were ever plentiful. Like I don't think Roland's world, at least in God knows how long it's been, but I think well outside of the realm of this story is probably if ever there was a time it looked like the American Old West where guns were kind of everywhere.
That was like the thing. Nowadays it's okay, I got my phone, I got my keys, I got my wallet. Back then it was okay, I got my wallet, I got my gun, I got my horse. That's what it was in the Old West. You didn't leave the house without a gun.
Yeah.
There were too many things trying to eat you or kill you.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was both.
Yes,
you know?
Indeed. So I would just say that this kind of goes to that point again before I even get into my notes, because I remember bringing that up previously where it's like I think we both kind of felt like maybe there's not enough like proof. Like it looks like there's more guns, but not plentiful by any means. This is probably the first time in this story ever that we've seen plentiful guns except for in our world.
Yeah.
Like with the Leaning Tower, for instance, there was a shitload of guns.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's our world.
You got a bunch of mobster gangsters that have guns. Of course, that makes sense for our world.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. This is the first time in Roland's world that we've seen this, where multiple guns are laid out on the desk here getting cleaned.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Baraki says they had crossbows, and Boz is I think the nomenclature. Yeah, there's a lot of like almost like gun alternate weapons that we've seen in this world, and I think there's been some like I feel like there's maybe been some times we've seen where it's like something, but you could basically tell it was a decoration, like it was something that was so dilapidated and eroded away to like Roland's like there's
Right.
just no way it's gonna fire. Like that's a mantelpiece. Like that's a decoration.
Right.
Like it's not so to see like essentially what you would imagine in a mob movie
I
when
mean,
like you see when you see the mob
Yeah.
like gearing up for like some kind of hit and they've got that giant table of fucking guns. It's like that's what I'm visualizing
Yes.
right now. And
or
in this
it's like Punisher getting ready to go wipe out a bunch of mobsters. He pulls all the guns off the wall. That's what you're seeing here. Is
Yeah.
them gathering the guns.
which
We have seen a couple guns here and there throughout Roland's story in his world,
very rare though.
but it's very rare. Like you have the couple in Lud
Yeah.
with TikTok Man.
Yeah. And he had a couple guns.
He had a couple guns.
Yeah.
But no one on the surface of Lud had a gun.
No.
None of I always forget which one it is, the grays or the pubes.
Yeah.
The ones that were electrifying people, they had swords, they had a grenade,
Yeah.
but they didn't have guns.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's just kind of interesting that I would put a pin in this to say that like this is the most guns we've ever seen in this world before.
Yes.
Yeah, again, not this world,
is.
not our world.
It is,
so,
yeah.
pretty wild. I always struggle to remember which of the two is younger, but it is Roy. I did look it up again. He's around 25, so it follows that his childhood is likely cut short because I don't think that he's necessarily just joined Jonas. Like he has not been with Jonas.
They've talked that he's ran with Jonas for a few years now.
Yeah, he's around with them for a bit, so it's like chances are he was kind of on the I don't know, not on the lam, but like I think he's been removed.
He was on the road.
He's been removed from his family and stuff for probably even longer. So yeah, there's a good chance that his childhood was cut fairly short.
It could be one of those ones where he's been on his own since childhood.
Yeah.
It very well could be. I mean, you street rat kind of thing turns into a outlaw kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm visualizing. So that's my first note. Also, Avery not eating, and the first time Roy's ever seen that shows where his head is at too. Kind of shows you where Avery's mentality is at, right? His entire disposition has changed now, which is not good for us because we kind of know what's going on here. I mean, we to an extent we know, right?
Right.
Like, so yeah, I don't know. I'm not necessarily overjoyed to see Avery not eating. I'd rather see him with some, greasy chicken fingers.
It gives you like the fumbling sheriff and everything like that vibes. But when he's not eating and he's got a table full of guns, all of a sudden he becomes a little bit bigger of a threat.
Yeah.
He's focusing, he's determined and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
like, damn it. No, we want him bumbling
And when I said greasy chicken fingers, I meant his fingers themselves are greasy because of chicken, not like he has chicken fingers.
Oh, I could go for some chicken fingers right now. I like chicken.
Some chicken tendies.
Some tendies, yeah. So my two notes here, I'm going to actually swap them. No, actually, never mind. I'm not. Here it mentions a pack of Wolverines. I got to call that out because I love nature documentaries, especially North American ones. Like I'm watching one right now that Tom Hanks did on Peacock.
Yeah.
It's called The Americas. It's North and South America. A pack of Wolverines is terrifying. They're solitary creatures in our world. So the fact that they have them running around in packs in this world, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
Just so everyone is clear,
I mean-
Wolverines are 40 to 60 pounds, somewhere in that age, medium-sized dog size.
Yeah.
And they kill moose.
Yeah.
If you don't know how big a moose is, look up the videos of a moose walking next to a truck, and it's taller than the truck.
Yeah.
So the fact that a Wolverine is
Isn't
a
there-
natural predator of a moose is just mind-boggling.
It's not even that one that gets me. It's that there's an aquatic animal that's also a predator of moose.
It's orcas.
Is that what it is?
It's the killer whale because moose swim between all the different islands of Canada.
Yeah.
And the orcas hunt up there. So they'll
Yeah.
catch moose while they're swimming between the islands and the northern reaches of Canada and stuff like that.
So what we're ultimately getting at here with packs of Wolverines.
Yeah.
Between that and Billy Bumblers, little boys should be very careful in this world.
Not the same thing.
I
Not
mean,
the same thing.
I haven't seen a Wolverine attack a child in this story, but I've certainly seen a Billy
come on.
Bumbler
I've
attack.
seen a Wolverine in this story.
No,
What
but-
is that?
But I've seen a Billy Bumbler viciously attack
You stop.
An
You
innocent-
stop the slander.
an innocent boy.
Stop slandering our second favorite character.
Ooh,
All
you
right?
almost slipped.
almost. And so then my last note here is just it is a serious one. So Jonas believes the boys are fooled. All of his chips are in on this play
Yeah.
because like DePape's going over it here in his head. It all depends on how much the boys are fooled.
Yeah.
If they're fooled, they got him.
Yeah.
Is what his thought process here. So you could see that Jonas is all in. He shoved all his chips in on this play.
And it seems like it's a good bet from us that's kind of in a third-person perspective. I know Roland's telling the story, but
Yeah.
like
We're outside.
We're kind of out, and Roland is even outside of it, right? And Eddie asked about that earlier in the book, and he said we would find out why
Yeah,
that is.
how do you know all these things that like this scene here? How
Yeah.
does he know what was said between Avery and DePape? Roland
Yeah.
wasn't there.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
But we as readers ultimately are seeing both sides of the story,
Mm-hmm.
and I would say that if I'm putting money, I'd probably put money on Jonas.
Yeah.
If I had of course, like if I didn't know the
Well,
story
it's
enough
what
to
you
know
said-
Roland, right?
It's what you said earlier. You have every bit of faith that Jonas's plan is going to work 100%.
Yeah.
You don't have a faith that Roland's plan is going to work 100%. So it's just kind of like
Yeah.
you're leaning that way too.
Because it's also Stephen King, and King is great with just kind of fucking over certain characters. So
yeah, the good ones.
Yeah.
you know.
yeah, indeed, like Randall Flagg.
Oh, stop it. Get out of here. DePape also reminded the sheriff that it is happening early. Avery says and that he will be there with these two here now, as well as 6 other good men. Fran Lingle asked to go along, and he has a machine gun. Avery spoke this last bit with a ringing pride, as if he himself invented the machine gun. Then Avery looked at DePape slyly and asked if he wanted to go along, and it wouldn't take but an eye blink to deputize him. DePape smiled and said he and Reynolds had another chore, and there is plenty of work, Sheriff, after all. It is reaping. And that's the end of Subchapter 10.
So do you? I guess I just thought of this, but do you?
Yeah.
In my mind, Avery and these guys don't know that the mayor is going to be killed, right? Like that's more of the coffin hunter side of things. Like I feel like there's a disconnect here. There's two layers to the conspiracy. There's like the ones that
No.
are truly in on it that are like, yes, we need to turn the whole town against the boys, so we're going to kill the mayor. We're going to kill Avery, or not Avery, Rimer. Which we saw that in that room and stuff. And I feel like,
But the only ones that were in that room were the 3 coffin hunters,
And-
Latigo and Coral.
yeah, and Latigo's, like that's Farson's dude. So like, I feel like there's like layers to it. So I don't think Avery is clued in to what's going to happen.
He is.
I don't know. I think
I can confirm that he is.
I don't know.
I can confirm that he is, and it's in one of your sections that he covers it.
Yeah.
So I'll point it out later when we get to it, but he's in on it.
Yeah, I don't know.
He has to be. You'll see.
I mean, even here you can make the argument as why are they getting ready now, before anything has happened. But I don't know. I just feel like Avery is. Maybe I just see him as kind of a dullard to one like you wouldn't.
Don't tell him why let him in.
Yeah.
He is in on it. I will show you. I will show you.
Machine gun. That's not good.
No, it's not.
It's not the first machine gun we've seen though.
No, it's not.
Speaking of Andrew Quick,
Yeah.
had that submachine gun.
The
so-
German one, yeah.
Yeah. So that's not good though. That is a dangerous weapon.
It's not good for you take a machine gun back to the old west and all of a sudden you got a lot of dead cowboys, right?
Yeah, and I was just saying I'm worrying my mind is worrying about Alan, Cuthbert, Susan, Shimi, Olive.
yeah.
Like there's a bunch of people
Yeah.
like in the collateral damage. Now this is Stephen King, so I've pretty much set my heart at this the first time reading this that there's no way that like Cordelia is going to die. It just
Yeah.
seems like King's way of like he's just not going to kill the most deplorable character, right?
I
Like,
mean-
one you want to see die.
Rhea's also on that list as well.
Yeah, there's just part of me. It's like King is just watch. He is not gonna fucking because King does that to us in multiple stories.
yeah.
Like you, if you're a constant reader, you've seen it. Where like,
Yep.
I mean, I think about even like the Dead Zone, which we just covered. Like, does what's his name get killed? No,
Stilson?
he gets disgraced. It removes him from becoming. But a guy like that, the first thing you see him doing is stomping a dog to death. Like that's the dude you should see die. But King doesn't give you that satisfaction. And
Yeah.
so there's just part of me the very first time reading this, I hadn't read as much King as I have now, but I read enough to know, like, I don't trust you, King. You're not going to kill. It's like when I'm thinking about collateral damage, like, there's no way that I would be
Right.
so overjoyed that a stray bullet's going to go and hit Cordelia. That's just, I
Right.
just don't, I don't trust King to do that for me.
Yeah.
So
in the chat, Rocky says bumblers are like honey badgers on crack. So call back to the slander of against one Billy Bumbler, not all of them.
yeah, but
Slander.
still,
That's slander, sir. That is slander.
just like you can't trust St. Bernards.
No, you stop that.
They're monsters.
No, they're not.
Yeah, beasts.
My note here. So DePape at least isn't deputized. I don't know why, but Jonas showed up with a badge. I assumed all the Coffin Hunters were. It just kind of made it feel like it when he talked to someone like, "Oh, we're helping out. He's got someone leg broke, and we're just helping out." We is what I am. I remembering that wrong?
No, I think it would just be because it's one guy with his leg broken.
Yeah,
like you don't want to like get people nervous where suddenly 3 Outlanders are on your police force because one guy broke his leg.
Also, 3 Outlanders who are big Coffin Hunters. So.
Yeah, and I also think what it comes down to is Jonas would want to be in like close to the power structure because he's pulling the strings. So him being deputized makes a lot of sense. Where the other 2 keep them visually on the outside, even though they're kind of on the inside still.
Yeah.
So I think it makes sense. I think maybe where you're getting is like maybe conflating like Tombstone when everyone starts getting deputized and like
it's like everyone.
By the end, everyone's wearing one badge or another.
A line where someone's is talking to Jonas and they're like, "Oh, you got deputized."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, we are helping out with extra security because Avery had a guy go get leg broke." So it's just like, what's this we then? Wouldn't it just be me?
I mean, it's his.
Maybe I'm just remembering the line wrong.
It's his goons, so even if they're not deputized, you know that they're still working for him.
And
so
with his authority.
Yeah, exactly. So ultimately, even if he's the only one deputized, you know the other 2 are going to end up being kind of in the service of the town. But I think it also makes sense. I mean, how much have we seen the 2 Coffin Hunters running errands, doing like busy work and shit, whereas Jonas is just like, "Oh, I'm going to go smooze up a lady to get some information." Like he's kind of got the easy job, right? And I get it. He's the older. He's the noble statesman of the Coffin Hunters, so he probably has earned that right.
Yeah.
But he ultimately him being deputized, that almost gives him a chance to sit in that nice cooled sheriff's office and drink iced cooled beverages.
That's right. He was there. It was a rainy day when they showed up and they're like, "Oh, you're deputized." And, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So I think it follows, but I think I mean I'm not saying you're necessarily like barking up the wrong tree to think the others would have, because it would have been logical, but I would also see the logic of like, don't do it, because they'd be like, if you're a townsperson, you're like, wait a minute, one guy got his leg broke and now there's 3 of them.
I never finished school, but one is less than 3. I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, you just got to keep people satisfied and comfortable. So.
And especially don't raise suspicions this late in the game as well. Like, that's the other thing, is like he may not have wanted to rock the boat and everything.
Yeah.
With everything going on with the boys and the oil tankers and all the horses and the oxen and everything.
Yeah.
Don't draw suspicion this late in the game.
Yeah.
Deputize all 3 of them. Wait a minute.
Yeah,
what's going on? All of a sudden people start asking questions.
Yeah, and he's too careful for that, I think.
Exactly.
So. Looks like we got Alan in the chat. Welcome, Alan. He said, that's the beauty of King's style and perspective. Our imaginations get the luxury of inserting ourselves, lucid dreaming style. LOL, thank you, Peter, for that.
For what?
I'm not sure which part.
I don't know.
We're windbaggering ourselves. Our windbaggery was going out of the control when he sent it. So sometimes we don't get the timestamp of when that actually came through. You could let us know. And then he said, Michael Roker was Jonas in the Amazon series. I don't remember who they had for DePape though. But yeah. Oh, machine guns. Yeah. I don't remember who. I just remember that good old Yondu was. And speaking of Yondu, he was also in Tombstone.
That's true,
Mr. Roker. So
yeah,
he was Jonas. But in terms of who the other 2 were, I don't recall. I know there was a lot of people in the cast that we weren't necessarily familiar with. There was a lot of unknowns, younger people and stuff, which makes sense. So, and then he does say Jonas, so I think that's what he was actually getting at. Is Jonas was sorry, I got a fly buzzing around.
Simon Wan was cast as DePape.
Yeah, which again, it's someone I wouldn't necessarily know. Maybe down the road we'll end up knowing them, and they'll get they'll become more known. You always love when that happens. All right, so going over to Subchapter 11. So that afternoon, Susan and Roland met at the grass hut in Bad Grass. And that always throws me off. Bad Grass just doesn't sound like a place name. Like, it just seems like a descriptor, right? It's like the Badlands. Like, that that feels a little bit more proper. But Bad Grass, I don't know why that just never, like, it doesn't feel right in my mouth. It doesn't feel like a name. like
Bad grass.
Yeah, just like every other one that we've had so far, they all feel fine. Bad grass was always one that like trips me up a bit, where I'm like, it just doesn't feel like a place name. I mean, not to say it's bad, it's just doesn't feel right to my mentality here. She told him about the book with the torn out pages, and he had shown her what was hidden in the hut's corner under a pile of skins. She asked if he thought something was wrong. He didn't, but he still felt a strong will to do it. Not the touch, simply intuition. He told her that he thinks that everything is all right, or as all right as it can be when there might be 50 of them versus any one of our boys. Yeah, which we kind of went through the math. Was it last episode or the episode before that we went through the math on it? Like, there's like a variance of it could be somewhere from like 75 to like 150. There was some crazy swing in numbers where it's just like we legit don't know how many we're going to be facing.
There's a lot.
Yeah, and either way, like our boys are outnumbered.
Yeah, because we don't know how many are coming from like the Hambry side.
Yeah.
We know how many Latigo has with him.
Yeah.
But we don't know how many's coming from this side as well.
Yeah. So he told her their only hope was surprise, and he asked if she was going to blow that by going to Langhill with these suspicions. And she shook her head.
Good girl.
I will say that's kind of, isn't that just apropos of just perfect Roland?
Yeah.
Like not like we almost don't. King doesn't even give us a lot there about him like commiserating with her. His first like response is like, "We need surprise. Are you gonna fuck it up?"
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of not a boyfriend way to respond, right?
That's a very Terminator way to
respond. That's very like it's like I think like
the mission comes first.
Yes, it's like in book 2, you left the gun with her type thing, right? It's just
I made it back. Thanks a lot, fucker.
Yeah, so this feels like just quintessential Roland, but definitely not good boyfriend material here for Susan. If Langhill had done what she suspected, he would get his payback 2 days from now. There would be reaping aplenty, but she was scared and said so. Roland told her that if it went bad, she and Shimi were the most likely to get away clean, and if that happened, she had to come here and take his guns back to Gilead and give them to his dad and tell him what happened here. And the guns would tell his father that she was who she claimed to be. She said if anything happened to him, she would not be able to do anything but die. He told her she won't die, not without this done. And he had a coldness in his voice that made her think about how cold his blood must be. And I will just pause there. I don't have a note on it, but I will say this isn't like a buck up. No, you're going to be fine. This is no, you can't die because you need to complete this. Like, again, this is very Roland that we're familiar with. Yeah, the mission. And it's like, so like twice now it's been like, oh God, Roland, you're not being like great boyfriend here. You're being
not great bedside manner.
No, you're being Roland. Because again, I think you could easily misread that to where it's like, oh no, you're not going to die. You'll be fine. But it's not. That's not his way. He's approaching it. He's like, no, you can't die. Not before doing this. Like, because if we die, because I think ultimately Roland just, I don't think he even necessarily cares as much that his dad knows that he's dead or whatever. I think he just wants to blow the whistle on the whole thing. And I think that's his biggest thing, because ultimately he sees the damage this whole thing can do to the entire affiliation. So
by the time they figure out that Roland, Cuthbert, and Alen are dead, it'll be too late. He needs a warning before that so that they can hopefully do something about these oil tankers and horses and everything that are getting there. Yeah,
exactly. So very interesting to see classic, as we would call it, classic Roland kind of showing through in this younger Roland now, because we've seen quite a shift. I mean, from joining him at the very beginning of this flashback story, we've seen hints of what Roland will become.
Yeah.
But it's been few and far between, and you've seen a lot of childish Roland. You've seen a lot of lovesick Roland. You've seen a lot of homesick of Roland. You've seen Mama's Boy Roland.
Yeah.
There's been a very broad view of Roland in this story. And suddenly here now it's like, whoa, we're now seeing like
cold calculating.
Yeah, first 3 books Roland.
Yeah.
A lot more all of a sudden. I think it's probably because Roland knows like shit's about to go down. There's no more time to be
anything
a child.
Else.
Yeah,
else.
you've got to be a full-fledged gunslinger. So it's just kind of interesting to see, because I don't think King's necessarily even like fully calling attention to it. Like, he's obviously displaying it, but it's not like he doesn't give us a line where it's like, and Roland understands that like we're on the verge of like life and death battle. Like, there's no more time for being like, he's not just like spelling it out that way. He's just showing us in a way to where it's like you may even unconsciously notice it. Like, we're obviously doing this book club, so we're being conscious and picking out these things. But like, I think when I'm reading it normally, I don't think I ever would have necessarily fully consciously caught on to the fact that there's been this shift
Yeah.
But doing these, but that's why I love doing these book clubs because
You find stuff like this.
Yeah.
With instead of just like reading through it,
Yeah.
you're like stopping, taking notes and everything, and you're like, oh wait a minute, yeah, Roland is kind of being like a machine right here.
Yeah, indeed. Alan says sounds like a Cheech and Chong joke. I saw a reference to that not too long. I haven't seen those movies in years, but definitely grew up watching those.
Never seen those.
Oh yeah,
No.
yeah, that's good stuff. He asked her to promise him, and she did. She said that he frightened her, and he said he cannot help what he is. So again. That's
robot me.
Yeah, very Terminator Roland. She said she would not want to change it, and then got a little handsy, and then said bird, and then a quote from the book: "Bird and bear and hare and fish." She said, now making soft butterfly kisses all over his face. Give your love her fondest wish. So that is where I'm stopping. We have a couple notes here, and then we'll move on with the rest of the subchapter. So much of what we have covered so far really feels like the final gasp before the plunge. I mean, we got that vibe last episode as well, which makes sense because this is still the same chapter. So like I said, the last episode really felt like the entire episode was like setting the board.
Yeah.
And this still kind of feels like setting the board. And again, that
we
makes
see
sense.
like the other side, like Jonas's side, setting their pieces and everything.
Yeah.
But then also we get here with Roland and Susan one last time kind of vibes. So
yeah, it's a classic, like be a heist movie or,
the night before the guy and the girl hook up.
Some suicide mission. There's always those final moments or whatever. Game of Thrones did a great job of that in the final season. One of the few things they did well.
The battle before the
night
White
before
Walkers
and stuff.
everything like that. Yeah,
good stuff. We also know our ticking clock is nearly out. We are 2 days from Reap, unbeknownst to our boys, a day from everything else going down. And even that might be overstating it because we do know it's going to be a late night affair.
Yep.
So we might be hours removed from the first steps
early morning
happening.
affair. Yeah.
So like that, it may not even be a day. It may be, we may be counting in hours now.
Yeah.
So my next note, Roland mentions that she and Shimi are most likely to make it out clean. We don't have much, but every hint of this story, even dating back to older books, have not given us the best feelings that things are going to go well for Susan. I remember kind of bracing for the worst because all of the hints that King has given us, I mean, even back to like some stuff in book 1, there's like a tragic vibe that tended to be kind of surrounding Roland's like recollections of the girl in the window and stuff. So it's like, I guess I didn't have much hope for her. I mean, just in general going into this story. But man, I hope Shimi'd be okay.
Yeah.
Because like when Roland said that, suddenly I was like, oh God, is Shimi actually going to be in danger?
Yeah.
Because again, I'm just like bracing for what's King going to do to us? Like he's got to hurt us. So it's like, how is he going to hurt us? Like is Cuthbert dead? Is Alan dead? Is Shimi dead? Is Olive going to get fucking killed in some tragic
How
thing?
many of them die here versus dying later before, book 1 and everything like
down
that?
the road.
There's the questions of that. And I just got to marvel at King's storytelling here and setting this up because it makes sense that Susan and Shimi would be the most likely to get away. A lot of people would be like, well, why would you say those two? They're the least trained. They don't have any fighting experience. Shimi, I don't think, could even fire a gun if he wanted to and everything. But they aren't associated with the boys directly. Cordelia knows about, Roland and Susan, but no one else does except Rhea, but she has a grudge against Susan. So we have some concern there for Susan and maybe a little bit for Shimi. After all, he failed to deliver the note for Rhea and everything.
Yeah.
So there is some concerns also with like that aspect of it. But really, when you look at it, they're not going into the battle. And that's just what I wanted to take here is that's what King is saying is like, that's Roland's logic. It's like, yeah, you're not going to be fighting. Shimi's not going to be fighting. If anyone's going to get away from this unscathed, it's going to be you two.
Yeah.
I just think Roland's not looking at all of the pieces.
Yeah.
You
well,
know?
there's stuff we know that he doesn't as well.
I mean,
so.
the thing is that he knows about Cordelia and he knows about Rhea's grudge against Susan. They broke that spell in the graveyard.
And
so it's
Shimi,
just like,
so
it's like, I mean, that's how Cuthbert found, punched him over was the note and everything like that. So I feel like maybe Roland's missing a little bit here. Like, I understand your logic that they're not going into battle with you, but there's other shit to consider.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of interesting that Roland, it's a glaring thing for Roland to miss and to say that these two are just going to get away scot-free.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. So my next note, I'm actually going to adapt a bit because ultimately I was thinking of the world building. And I think actually what this comes down to with the guns is this isn't necessarily that Roland gives a shit about these guns because they're just Prentice guns.
Yeah.
I think what it comes down to is that's going to be like the secret password for them to listen to anything Susan's going to say, right?
Well, that's what he says. That my guns will show that
you are who you say
you are. Who you say you are.
So, like, ultimately, my first thought was like that it was just kind of maybe showing the value of the guns, and Roland wanted to get him back even if he died. But that's not. I don't think that's the case at all. I think it's just 100%. Like, they're never going to listen to you. But if you were to bring these guns, though, they will now listen to you. That your story is legit.
Yeah,
so.
I feel the same way.
Yeah. Indeed. Let's see. Let me go find my note. I just lost my place. So they laid beneath the bear's skin. Roland had brought and listened to the wind through the grass. She said that she loved that sound and wished she could be part of the wind and go where it goes. He told her this year she would if Ka allowed it. She told him that she loved him and began to cry. He asked her what was wrong, and she said she didn't know, but there was a shadow on her heart, and she asked him if he would leave without her. That's a interesting question.
Why are we asking that? King, why are we asking that?
And for us readers that have known Roland now, that's an interesting question. He simply said no. She said that she had given him everything to him, and her virginity was the least of it. He told her that that he would not leave her. He swore to her. Like that has proved out in the past. Sorry, I'm not being fair to Roland here, but deserved in my mind. She said that she was still frightened, and he told her that she didn't need to be, and suddenly all the wrong words wanted to tumble out of his mouth, and he wanted to tell her that they need to leave. They need to leave all of this behind, not on Reap, but at this very moment, and leave and never look back. He thought they would, but then he thought they would be haunted by the faces of Bert and Alan, and all of those faces that would die at the Chavade Mountains and at the end of Farson's Toys, and haunted by the faces of their fathers for the rest of their lives. Now, there is part of me that's like, yes, Roland, do that. Because, again, I mean, for one, we know where Roland ends up, but also it's just like...
You know she's not there.
Yeah.
Why or how, we don't know yet, but you know she's not there, Roland, do it.
Yeah. So Roland is far from a big traveler, but he has at least traveled here to Magus. She is a one-town girl, so going to Gilead is a very big deal for her, just for him pointing out, because I feel like that's a very small town kind of vibe where it's just like, oh, I wish I could, go with the wind and just like a bird, whatever. There's always those like wishful thinking, especially people that are trapped in shitty situations. But at least he's now had at least that one travel away from home. So for him, it's almost, he feels like a veteran for it, where she not at all. So him telling her he won't leave her worries me. I can't help but think of Jake dropping, or him promising him that he wouldn't do it again, but immediately doubting himself in his own mind. We don't have a lot to make us think that his word means anything. Historically speaking, Roland has not necessarily been a great promise keeper.
Yeah.
So, in fact, Jake called him out on that in the first book, where he's just like, "You're going to kill me."
Yeah.
And then Roland lied to him and said no, but even Roland's like,
just to get him moving again.
Yeah, exactly. So
on the counter side, I trusted Roland here, especially in my first time reading through. He isn't the man that dropped Jake or anything else adult Roland has done. He's a very young boy. He still has his principles and everything intact. I could see something happening, but I don't necessarily believe that it's going to be Roland's fault. That's where I come off in this one here with him. I understand where you're coming from. We've had 3 books to see how shitty Roland is.
But here's my counterpoint.
Okay.
Roland feared telling the quartet this story. And repeatedly pushed it off. He's mentioned, I think overtly, I'm worried about, how are you going to view me after I tell you this story?
Am I going to be cast out like a leper, kind of stuff like that?
Yes, and he also said that there's a lot of stories in his background, and this one would stand for all of them. So there's some key indicators here where it's this might be the start of the Roland that we saw earlier in the story.
It very well could be, and I don't know why, but I just remember having that what he says here, I believed him. No, I'm not abandoning you. No, I'm not leaving you, and stuff like that.
Peter, ever the bushy-tailed optimist.
That is me. That's what we know.
That is you. And I'm not saying you're wrong, but I just remember having the same fears the first time I read it, where I was just it was just like I thought of those things because there's a certain setups where it's like, hey, we haven't got a payoff yet. Like, what is this thing? Like, why was he pushing it off so long? Why was he worried how the Tet would react? And like, because I've almost felt like he did think this could legit break up the Tet, like him telling the story.
Like they would just be like, oh God, and we'll leave him.
Yeah, and it's like
walk away.
Yeah, and it's like, oh my God. So but I'm not, and I will say to your side of it though, I do think that Roland genuinely cares for Susan. So there is that. It's hard for me to trust because everything we've seen so far. So there's part of me that wanted to see Roland just leave, knowing enough about him. We know that whatever happens here is probably not going to be happy. So it's just, again, there's part of me that just wanted.
No, we know it's not going to be happy. Like the way, like you said, like the way he's acting in Kansas, he's like, it's bad, guys. It's bad. I'm going to tell you the story, but it's bad. Just let me warn you how bad it is. And like, okay, we get it. Why are you saying bad like that so frequently and so often, dude?
What an
like,
odd
calm
thing
down.
to say.
And then after the story, all of a sudden, it's like, dude, that was bad.
Yeah,
it's like, I told you.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then of course, got to remember this is a King book.
It's true.
So there's that as well. Because what is it? The author is the god of their universes, and King is a
not a good
cruel god.
Yeah, he's not a nice god.
So then going on here, he told her all she needed to do the day after tomorrow was claim to be sick at lunch and go to her room and leave the way that she did when they had met in the graveyard. Hide for a bit and then here to this hut and check for the guns. If nothing had gone wrong, the guns would be gone, and he swore they would be. She said she knew they had gone over this before, but she said something was wrong and she feared for him and she didn't know why. He said everything would work out and started to say something about Ka, and she bit his head off, saying she didn't want to hear any more about it and called it greedy and that she hated it. So she's not a fan of Ka, apparently. I mean, she really hasn't been this whole story.
No.
So that's probably the wrong thing for him to say to her. Yeah. But I think Roland genuinely believes it. I don't think this is like a just calm down wife, like I don't think it's that. I think it's just more of a fact of
overreacting.
He tried to calm her down, but she cut him off and laid back down and opened her arms to him. He thought that men greater than Hart Thorin would have given their kingdoms for her, and she never would have been more beautiful. She had never been more beautiful to him than that moment. But the look on her face was haunted, and he would later think that she knew some part of her knew. So that's not an ominous.
No, that's not an ominous. With our discussion about is he going to betray her or do something to get her killed or kill her himself or No, some part of her knew. Knew what?
Yeah, exactly. And that's classic King. She told him no more talking, and if she loved her, then love her. And then I just took this last bit word for word. And for the last time, Roland did. Oh, King. I feel like throughout this entire almost 10 years we've been doing this show, we've talked about the King tease. I don't know if we've ever given it a proper name.
Yep.
But King is very good at that, and that's the last time they ever saw each other. ... It's like,
and the last time he ever saw her alive. You know that.
Like, yeah, I think there's one of those in the stand. There's like he does that throughout all of his books where it's just like there's these things where it's like, if you look at like especially today in the modern like super spoiler phobic days, like people are, oh my God, there's like spoilers. I don't want to know anything about the story till it's told. It's like, then don't read King, because he is very good about
spoils everything like beforehand.
Yeah.
This is the story of how I died. Chapter 1. Going back 6 years as I was a boy. And it's like, wait, you just told me that you died in the first sentence.
Yeah. So then, just to say, it said, and for the last time Roland did, they rocked together, skin to skin and breath to breath, and outside the wind roared in the west like a tidal wave, into the west like a tidal wave, which we know that going to the west is not a good thing in this world.
No.
So the fact the wind is blowing to the west, I don't think that's a good sign.
Nope.
There's a lot of signs and portents that things are not great.
Yes.
Not going to go well. I don't know. And again, it's Stephen King, so we as readers are sitting here kind of going like, just yeah, it's like, King, we know who you are. We know the monster you are. You've done a lot to us over the years, so we don't trust you.
This is where we should be hiding our faces behind our hands. Like,
yeah.
I can't watch.
Yeah, and I will. Yeah, so we're getting more of the plan, the actual nuts and bolts of her side of the plan on Reap. Also, the checkpoint of if the guns are there or not is a classic storytelling like tool. Give a very clear, if this, then this. Like, if this, that means that, right? Heist movies do it. It's like, so long as this guy accepts his ID, we're good. If it not, the whole thing blows up. And it's like, so then you have that scene to like show the idea. It's just, you set those up to where you got to paint it out very simply for the audience so they understand a very simple thing where it's like, here is a singular thing.
If A happens, B happens.
Yes.
If C happens, then D happens.
Yes.
And D is very, very, very bad.
Yeah.
So that makes it that if C is very, very bad, then.
Yeah. So it's just a good way to like simplify it in a way to where an audience, even if they're not necessarily tracking everything very well, they can lock onto that one simple thing that you pounded into their head.
Yeah.
To that, for that to be a sign to them if things are going well or not. So now we've got that here. So yeah, got that note. Susan is having some feelings not too dissimilar from Olive Thorin. Bad vibes are everywhere, it seems. That makes me very nervous.
Everyone's having bad dreams.
Yes. Then there is the King tease that we all know and love / hate.
Yeah, in the chat, Alan says, dum, dum, dum. King stab hint read this with grief, LOL.
Yeah, good old King, man. I will say, I do appreciate them. You know, I almost feel I view these almost like the blue chambray shirts and like different things, chewing aspirins.
It goes hand in hand.
There's just certain like things you see where you just like Leo meme it.
Yep,
and
that's
like
King.
I think this is definitely one of them for sure.
King giving away something like that. The King spoiler, I guess we should call it.
Yeah.
And then also the King flashback. Like,
yeah.
Good God, the number of flashbacks I've read reading King's works is just astronomical.
Well, the other thing I will say too is I think why King does it is it goes back to like that Hitchcock thing, right? The bomb just blowing up versus like telling the audience there's a bomb and it goes off at 11 o'clock and you got a clock on the wall. I think King doing that, it puts you on edge and it almost increases the tension.
Absolutely.
It's type stuff. So I again, anyone that would say that like, oh, it's a spoiler or it's bad, like I think you're wrong entirely. I think King doing it is always effective in my mind.
The way that he does it is just masterful, honestly.
Yeah.
Every single time.
Yeah, so the last line still gives me chills. So well written. To have read this series over a dozen times, it still gives me chills. Like, that speaks to its power and how well this is written. So, yeah, that's my note. What do you got?
So the question I have for you is would this be the end scene of an episode for you if you made the Dark Tower TV show? Like, if Flanagan's like, hey, where are you going to sparse out end of episodes? Like, what? Give me the cliffhangers at the end of each episode.
I think this might be one, but I think you might buffer it because, like, not to get too spoilery, but the rest of this section, the rest of the episode, we got a lot of stuff that's going to be happening. So this feels very close to it. So I don't know if you necessarily cut off now, if immediately after is some of these scenes we're about to cover, because that would be it would almost feel like it's like sometimes you just get bad cuts where it's like whatever. So I think that you might do this, but you might buffer it so there's a little bit more going on. So when you jump into the next episode, there's a little bit more to play out before you get to the shit going down. So that's kind of how I would view it probably.
Gotcha.
But this would not be a bad way to end an episode.
Yep, there's a way to end it with them together for the last time kind of thing.
Yeah, except Flanagan, unless he's doing a narrator, is not. Well, I guess he could do a narrator with this
Roland's
season.
telling a story.
Roland's telling a story.
Yeah.
So, yes.
How else do you have Roland, Eddie, Jake, and Susanna in this season? Or do you just give them an entire season off?
Yeah, no, I
mean, they'll be in like the opening scene, like around the campfire, Roland starts telling a story, and then it's like fade to black, come back up. We're in, Gilead. Roland's about to set off and everything like that. So you don't see the content at all that entire season after that? Like, no.
I think what you could do is you could set the storytelling up at the end of the last season, and then just the whole season is this, and then the beginning of the next season, which then is almost a year and a half, 2 years. I mean, if that's a season every year. Then when you get back to like the next season and it's the end of the story's been told, because then the Jake actor will have aged up and be like, God damn, how long was that story?
How long was that story? He went from 5'5" to 6'1". It's like, what the hell?
Yeah, make a joke out of it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, indeed. Yeah.
So that's the end of Subchapter 11. We're starting Subchapter 12 now. That evening, as the demon rose in the sky, Cordelia left her house and walked slowly across her lawn to her garden. Detouring around the pile of leaves that she had raked, she carried a bundle of clothes. She dropped them at the front of the stuffy guy and looked at the rapidly rising moon. The knowing wink of the eye, the ghoul grinned silver as bone, a button against the violet silk. It grinned at Cordelia, and she grinned back. Then, like a woman snapping out of a trance, she stepped forward and pulled the stuffy guy from his pole. She stripped off the clothes and picked up one of the things she had brought from the house. It was the red riding shirt that Mayor Thorin had gifted to Susan, one that Miss Oh So Young and Pretty refused to wear. Whore's clothes, she had called them. And then this next part, I took word for word from the book. And what did that make Cordelia Delgado, who had taken care of her even after her bullheaded dad had decided he must stand against the likes of Fran Langell and John Croydon? It made her a whorehouse madam, she supposed. And then I just had to stop here because, my God, I forgot we got this line confirming that Pat not only knew about the plot, like we knew that. Like,
yeah.
Even before Susan tearing the pages out, we knew that.
I don't know if we knew. We suspected.
We suspected.
Yeah.
But we knew when we found the pages torn out. Something was wrong.
Yeah.
Pat was murdered. Very obvious.
Oh, yeah.
It was like 99%.
There's that, but I think like him knowing is the thing. I think that's new here because I think that like in my mind up to this point, I think I assumed that he was like getting on the trail. And when they realized that he was starting to ask questions, it was going to lead him to the conclusion.
Yeah,
that's when they kill him.
You got basically three ways that you could play this, because it's not clear until this moment.
Yeah,
You could play it as Pat suspects something, kill him, or option 2, Pat knows, kill him,
fully. Yeah.
Or option 3, Pat would not go for this, so just kill him and get him out of the way.
That's true.
So you don't know which one of those it
Yeah.
is. But we find out here it's actually number 4. Pat knew and was going to put a stop to it.
Yeah.
He was going to tell. He was going to stand against them, is what it says.
I call that the JFK.
We got to get him out of the way. He's standing in our way kind of thing.
Kennedy standing up against the wrong people.
That's the way it is. So, yeah, like 100% confirmation that not only did he know,
Which is wild.
but that he was going to stand against it.
And Cordelia knew.
And Cordelia knew that he knew and that he was murdered for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, oh, you bitch.
Yeah. But I will say, pure confirmation of the suspicions that we've had for a while now. Now the question is, Pat was going to stand up and died for it. Do you excuse Cordelia for not making waves after that? Like, if she had caught wind, maybe he even told her, and then he's like is getting ready to stand up, and then he dies. Like, I feel like I'm not going to excuse her for most of her sins, but for the fact of like, you know, knowing more and not telling Susan and like whatever, I do think that's legitimate. And that's like self-preservation. We've already had her tell us through telling Susan, and we've heard it, to where like this isn't a world that's friendly to women anyway. Both of them are kind of always on the cusp of like they could easily just take all of our land and shit without any qualms because we're not men. So like I think like if Pat that was a man stood up and was killed, I think Cordelia is right to stay silent and protect Susan from knowing any of that. Because if she got all hot and went up and started like whatever, she'd get killed. So I'm not. Cordelia is a terrible fucking person, but I think in this one tiny spot, I actually think Cordelia was right in what she did by like just shutting up. Because again, this is a male.
That's interesting.
This is a male-driven world.
That's interesting. You take it that way because I take it completely opposite. I take it that Cordelia was in on it, that she knew. I mean. He has the likes to go against Fran Langell and John Croydon. Shame on him. How dare he go against them? What a piece of shit he is and everything like that.
I see.
That's why she is a piece of shit.
I mean, for
so
sure.
that's where like her track record speaks for her here, kind of thing. Like you were just doing with Roland, like, well, we kind of know what kind of an asshole he is later on and a bastard. We know the same thing with Cordelia here. So if we give her that same logic, she may not have known about the plot to kill Pat, but as soon as she found out and why, then she goes, well, yeah, you guys obviously made the right call, so I still think she's a piece of shit for this. Then I think it's keeping it from Susan simply for the fact that she doesn't want to expose that she's in on treason.
I think the other part of it is, I guess I view kind of like mafia movies and stuff where you have like the guy that's going to stand up to the mob and the wife's like, no, just shut up, put your head down. Then he gets murdered and she, like a type thing where it's just like now she's in a spot where it's like she's not going to say anything.
She's got the 2 kids at home. I got to provide for them now. I got to be alive to be there. But if I say something, then I'm not going to be alive. I don't take it that way. I take it as first off, she doesn't give a shit about Susan.
And Baraki says, I always assume Cordelia had a hand in Pat's death, not just knowledge of it. And I mean, I think
that's how I'm feeling too.
I think that's potentially a fair read for sure. But I will say that like if not though, she's got a lot of sins to hate her for. Mm-hmm. But if it was just a matter of she kind of knew that, you know, maybe she didn't even know any details, but she just knew that like Pat was like butting heads with these people over something, and he was gonna like maybe even like blow the whistle, and then suddenly he ends up dead, like that's going to silence her, and rightfully so. Like,
Yeah.
because like how much easier is it to kill her versus him? That's like a high standing person in this culture.
If you kill her, you kill Susan.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, or she just gets sold off, which is terrible to think about.
I mean,
she would have been what, 8 or something, 7 or 8.
It's something around there where,
really
where
young.
Pat dies. Yeah.
So ultimately, like, but you know, like if it, yeah, because he's like a person in high standing in the society too, like the head of the Horsemen's Association. This is a guy that's rubbing shoulders. Like if he were alive, he would have been at that welcome dinner for the boys. That's a high up role. So if they're willing,
I mean, he's the Fran Langell.
Yes.
He's the head of the Horsemen and had been for decades.
Yeah, it reminds me of the line from The Irishman, where Joe Pesci and they're like, oh, like, you know, something like, oh, he knows he's protected because he's the president of the union, and Joe Pesci just like gets a smirk on his face. He's like, if they can kill the president, they can kill the president of the union.
Yeah,
like it's just one of those like, you're small potatoes. Like don't try us here.
I take this as like, maybe she didn't have a hand in it. I mean, I'm with Baraki. I believe that she had a hand in it because I believe that she knew about it. Because I would not be shocked if she knew and had a confrontation with him beforehand, and then she's the one that tells Fran Langell that he's going to go squeal, and so that's when he gets killed is because of her. Honestly, that's how I've always had it in my mind, is that it's her fault that Pat's dead.
Yeah, I mean,
and she's a vile piece of shit. We are going to have the discussion in a few months about Rhea versus her after doing.
Hopefully,
this
it breaks
book
out in a
club.
way to where we maybe have like 20-30 minutes extra at the end of the last book club episode.
I really hope so because we could just put it there and everything.
If not, we'll do it in a roundtable.
But
sure.
I'm telling you, this dude, you may have swayed me on Cordelia. I don't know if I'm given Rhea, I may have a hard time defending her versus Cordelia. But it's always been to me that she caused Pat's death.
I mean,
and if she didn't cause it, she at least had the entire knowledge of why he's dead.
Yeah,
and then kept that from Susan.
Yeah, and I think we got that in the last episode with the argument they had
with the pages and everything. Because who else would have torn the pages out of the book if not for Cordelia?
Yeah, so I think that she was like complicit at least after the fact. It's just a matter of like how much did she know and when. And I do think, I guess I'm just saying that if she wasn't fully in any kind of knowledge, and maybe they even came to her and they're just like, we need these things from his records because this is what was going on, and he had an accident, and that's enough for her to know, like, oh, so you just killed him, you will kill me too. Like,
I mean, because that's what she says here is the quote is that her bullheaded dad had decided to stand against the likes of Fran Langell and John Croydon. It didn't say anything about exposing their treason or anything like that. It just decided to stand against them.
Yeah.
So they could just be like, hey, look, Pat was standing in the way of progress, and he had an accident.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
For those of those in the audio podcast, I just gave Tad a look that's like eyebrows raised, like, you know what I mean? You know, like kind of thing. Yeah. So that's I can see both sides. Tad.
Again, the mafia movies, how much euphemisms are used in mafia movies? Yeah. So it's like he's gone.
He's gone.
It's like
he went for a walk, or like
there's just always those like
what's that skit where it's just like they keep accidentally killing people because the guy keeps saying the wrong thing. He's like, take him out. Bam. No, I meant like take him outside. Like, what are you doing? He's drunk. He obviously needs to leave. Like, why'd you kill him? That kind of thing.
Yeah. Indeed.
All right. So going on, this led to her Cordelia to an image of because just a reminder, her last line is that she's a whorehouse madam. This led her to an image of Eldred Jonas and Coral Thorin naked and striving while a piano planked out Red Dirt Boogie. It's way too close to Boot Scootin' Boogie.
Probably just as undesirable.
Below them, and Cordelia moaned like a dog. She yanked the silk shirt over the stuffy guy's head. Next came one of Susan's riding skirts, a pair of slippers, and last replacing the sombrero with one of her spring bonnets. Presto, now the stuffy guy was a stuffy gal. And caught red-handed, ye are, she whispered. I know. Oh, yes, I know. I wasn't born yesterday. She carried it to the pile of leaves and stuffed handfuls into the shirt to make crude breast. Then Cordelia took matches from her pocket and struck a light. The wind seemed to want to cooperate, so it dropped. Cordelia touched the match to the leaves, and soon the whole pile was blazing. She picked the stuffy gal up and just stood in front of the fire. She didn't hear the sound coming from town, firecrackers, the wheeze of the steam organ in Greenheart, or the mariachi band playing in the low market. She didn't even react when a burning leaf swirled past her hair, threatening to set it alight. Her eyes were wide and blank. When the fire was at its height, she stepped to the edge and threw the stuffy on. Flame woofed up and sparks flew out. Burning leaves swirled skyward in a funnel. So let it be done, she cried. The fire turned the tears on her cheeks to blood. Char you, tree. Aye, just so. Cordelia watched the stuffy burn, clenching and unclenching her fists heedlessly of the sparks that lit on her skin. She was equally heedless of the leaves that swirled toward the house. If it caught fire, she likely would have ignored that as well. She watched until the stuffy was reduced to ashes, and then walked back into the house, fell on the couch, and slept like the dead. And that's the end of the subchapter there for subchapter 12, and I just put, thank God Susan got out of the house when she did. I do believe that Cordelia has gone quite mad.
Yeah, I think that's mad is the exact word I would
Yep.
think. My note, honestly, Cordelia was not the most balanced person to begin with, but I don't think I have credited enough how badly Jonas pushed her into this realm of near madness.
Yeah, the jealousy and everything.
The jealousy of that, yeah. It also it seems also the party is starting, maybe far from full force, but we got some signs that it's at least starting.
Yeah, we got that in one of my earlier subchapters too. That the games are open, the carts going and pulling kids
now
around.
You got fireworks. I mean,
But now we got nighttime and we got fireworks going off. We heard, man, 4 or 5 episodes ago how excited kids were that they were setting off bangers even like weeks before.
Yeah.
They just couldn't wait, kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. No, it just reminds me of Utah here as we're about to
And
enter
we had
into
fireworks
July.
last night.
Oh yeah, Taylorsville days.
Yeah.
We have the little, like, I don't know what you call those, but
It's like a city celebration kind of thing.
Yeah. So yeah, they had a big fireworks show for that. So it's that time of year though. So it kind of reminds me of real life. So going on to subchapter 13.
Real fast, Brocky. I hate her so bad. It flames at the side of my face, breathless, heaving. It's a Clue movie reference.
It's a great one. I love Clue. It's a fun one. Good old Tim Curry.
Love Tim Curry.
That's how you judge someone, is what they know Tim Curry most from. What's the first thing they mention? I mean, we know what it's going to be for us, right? I assume from you.
Yeah, Scary Movie 2. Is it titties? Yep.
Which is a deleted scene.
I know. I can't believe that's a deleted scene. I always thought that was in the movie.
I've quoted that for years. It's one of my favorite lines. He's such a great.
He's so funny.
He's great. But no, of course, for me, it's it.
Of course.
Hiya, Wheezy.
Whatabaloo.
Oh, he's great. All right, so subchapter 13. This is the last one for the chapter, but we are going into the next chapter as well.
Yeah.
It was 3:30 in the morning of the day before Reap, and Stanley Ruiz thought he was finally done for the night. The music had quit 20 minutes ago.
Dude,
Coral-
pause for just a second. 3:30 in the morning the day before Reap. So we're like hours away from go time.
Yeah.
Because like DePape told, it didn't dawn on me earlier. DePape told Avery that it was going to be early the day before Reap. So we are the day before Reap, and it's 3:30 in the morning. So we are literally hours away from it going down.
Yeah. And it's the witching hour. Gotta love that.
There you go.
Baraki says Rocky Horror Picture Show.
There you go.
Another. Tim is great. What about what is it? Is it Red Alert 3? The one that he's
2.
in the cutscenes?
Oh no, 3.
3. I think it's 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those
I will say that I also have memories of him in Congo getting killed by the gorillas that scared me so bad when I was a kid.
Yeah. So going on, Coral was upstairs, and there had been no signs of the coffin hunters. He had the idea that they were at seafront tonight, and he also thought there was dark deeds afoot. But he did not know that for sure. He looked up at the romp and...
A lot of people having, like, dreams and suspicions and feelings and everything here.
Yeah.
Even, like, the bartender, like, damn.
Yeah. He looked up at the romp and spoke aloud to it, saying he didn't want to know, and all he wanted was 9 hours of sleep because tomorrow was the real party, and they would not leave until dawn.
Damn.
Hell yeah, that's my kind of party. At least when I was not pushing 40.
Yeah.
So then, let's see. Baraki says, Baraki also said Hunt for Red October. Alan says Silent Hill. Are we talking which references we're talking about?
He's in Silent Hill?
I'm not sure.
I've seen that movie.
I don't know if you got, when we were saying Red Alert, I guess we didn't say Command and Conquer Red Alert. Peter and I know shorthand. That's what we're talking about.
Command and Conquer Red Alert is a computer game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was in the cutscenes of the
Yeah.
third game.
He was a Russian.
Yeah. A scream rose from somewhere behind the building. Stanley jerked backwards into the bar, and Sheb woke up briefly and fell immediately back to sleep. Stanley had no urge to investigate. It sounded like Petty the Trotter. He looked under the bar at two wooden clubs, the Calmer and the Killer. The Calmer was smooth and would have be sure to put someone's lights out for a few hours. The Killer was shorter, wider, at the end was studded with nails. He took the latter of the two. So that sounds fun.
I'm playing Days Gone right now, which is like a zombie game. And one of the things you can do is put nails in a baseball bat. And the most common way that you end up killing like a zombie, they call them freakers, is you literally just take it.
Isn't that in The Last of Us too? Can't you nail boards or
I think
bats
so.
as
I think
well?
so.
Yeah.
I think they just come that. Yeah, you just take the nails and you just go
No,
right in the face.
You have to upgrade it because you have just normal
Yeah.
bats and things, but I think you can upgrade it by putting nails in there, so they're like little
Oh
maces.
yeah.
Because
Yeah,
that
it's the same
sounds
thing.
really
It's
familiar.
Yeah, it's the same thing. You like upgraded like with like nails or like a saw blade, but like with the nails, it's just the most common. Is like you hit them once in the stomach and then you just go, you just put it right in the face.
Yeah. He moved to the back door, took a deep breath, and unlocked it. He expected another scream, but none came, only the sound of the wind. He opened the door and raised the Killer. He expected to find Petty the Trotter dead, but she was not dead. She was looking up. He asked what it was, and he looked up and saw what she saw. He tried to put some reason to what he was seeing. The wind had been blowing the last few days. No rain had come to knock it down, so it was just dust. But what he saw did not look like dust. Above them was a demon moon, grinning with its winking eye through what appeared to be a shifting scrim of blood.
Yeah.
So that's another fun visual for as we're moving here.
Nothing like a blood curdling scream at 3:30 in the morning. You know.
Yeah, and a moon with a winking face that is now blood red.
Yeah.
That sounds real
And
fun.
not like the orange tinted blood red. You know, like that. No, it's like blood red is what he's saying.
Yeah. And then my next note, ultimately we know by the response here that this isn't normal. The demon moon is normal, but seeing it blood red is not so much normal. So first Olive, then Susan, and now we're moving into the Day of Reckoning, and now nature itself seems to be it seems our whole story is full of signs and portents right now.
Yeah, and my note here, and we do get the sense that these people are more superstitious than the people of our world, so stuff like this
Isn't it
not
justified though?
I mean, back then,
some of the stuff we've seen in this story up to this point, and I know that's in
Yeah.
the future for Roland, but it's like we've seen speaking demons, we've seen all kinds of shit where it's
the
like
Oracle.
yeah, we've seen shit that is like probably superstition's the right thing
Yeah.
to be in this world. So yeah, and then backing up, I love the two clubs with different designs and different uses. That feels right. That feels right for someone running a very rough bar.
Yeah, am I just gonna knock this guy out so he can come back and drink again tomorrow and take care of that headache that he has because he got a little handsy with one of the whores? Or is this guy,
Done for.
done for?
Yeah.
Like, and the fact that he's allowed to keep both is like,
Yeah.
But again, also points out to what you were talking about earlier. Not a gun under the bar.
Yeah, indeed.
I mean, in our world, I just watched Punisher season 1 again. They have a shotgun under their bar in the season 2 episode 1 where he's at the bar and they come to take the girl.
Yeah.
They have a shotgun. I mean, that's a very common thing for bartenders. Boom! Can't let you take the man's wheels, son. You know exactly what movie I'm quoting.
Of course. T2.
That's a bartender, kind of thing. He's got a shotgun. It's kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Here he's got clubs.
Yeah.
So kind of back to your gun thing.
What you're saying is his choices are put someone to sleep and they can come back later, or are they Wolverine food?
Yeah, it's basically And I
pack
appreciate
of Wolverines.
And I appreciate you saying a pack of Wolverines instead of a pack of Billy Bumblers. I appreciate that.
Well, that isn't a boy, most
oh
likely.
my god.
So. Billy Bumblers only victimized children from the evidence we've seen so far.
Hashtag Ted is terrible. Moving on. So now we're in Chapter 7. Taking the Ball is the name of this chapter, and Subchapter 1 is where we're going to kick off. Because why would we skip Subchapter 1 and go to 2?
Well, let's just do it. Let's just start going out of order. On
Okay.
everything. Roll a die.
Yeah.
Which subchapter we start?
Spin a wheel. While a certain whore and bartender were gaping up at the bloody moon, Kimba Rimer awoke sneezing. He thought, great, I damn cold, and how he had so much to do over the next couple days.
Summer cold. Coming back around to the intro.
Uh-oh. It's probably not good for his health. Let's see what happens.
Yes.
Then something fluffed the end of his nose and he sneezed again. Coming from his narrow chest, it sounded like a small caliber pistol shot. Who's there? He cried. No answer. Reimer imagined a bird, something nasty and bad-tempered had gotten in there during the day and was now flying around in the dark. fluttering against his face while he slept. Holy fuck, dude. The callbacks here, King. Damn. His skin crawled. He hated birds, bugs, bats, and all that sort. He fumbled with the gas lamp on his bedside table and almost knocked it over. As he pulled it close to him, the flutter came again on his cheek. He screamed and recoiled against his pillow. He lit the lamp and saw that it wasn't a fluttering bird, but Clay Reynolds sitting on the edge of the bed holding a feather. His other hand wasn't visible. It was in his lap, hidden in his cloak. Reynolds had disliked Rimer from their first meeting in the woods west of town. That night had been windy, and Reynolds' cloak swirled around him, and Rimer had commented, "Sai Manto," and the other two had laughed. It had been meant as a harmless joke, but it didn't seem harmless to Reynolds. In many places he had been, manto didn't mean cloak, but leaner or bender, and was a slang term for homosexual. That Rimer didn't know this never crossed Reynolds' mind. He knew when people were making fun of him, and those people had to pay, and it was Rimer's turn to pay. Rimer asks, "What are you doing here? How did you get in?" And Reynolds interrupted him, saying, "No, you got the wrong cowboy. No Reynolds here, just Senor Manto." And he took his hand from under his cloak and drove the 12-inch blade of the dagger he had bought in the low market just for this chore into Rimer's chest, and went all the way through him, pinning him like a bug. A bed bug, Reynolds thought. The lamp fell from Rimer's hand, but didn't break on the floor. It cast shadows off the far wall of Rimer struggling, and Reynolds bent over him like a vulture. Big bird.
Indeed.
Reynolds lifted his hand with the tattoo and put it in front of Rimer's eyes, so the last thing he saw was the small blue coffin. Reynolds said, "Let me hear you make fun of me now. Come on. Let's just hear you." And that's the end of the subchapter.
Yeah.
So, like we were talking about earlier, we knew the plan, and
It's starting.
First one.
Yeah.
First one.
One down. So my first note, man, another allusion to birds. At least in this case, it was not one in a dream like Olive's.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then I said, damn, that's all it took for Reynolds to hold a murderous grudge. Also, what a scene. It's going to be beautiful if we ever get it.
Yeah.
Like, this may not be something that we get on film. It may be off screen. It may not. It may not play out.
The only way we're not
exactly
getting
like
this is if we don't get the series.
Yeah. So
or if we don't make it to the 4th or 5th season, whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Third or 4th season, probably. So
yeah.
No, they'll have to show this.
Yeah.
You think Flanagan's gonna not show us something like this?
I could see it being changed or something like that. But dude, like you're a couple notes from now, just sticking him to the bed.
Yeah. So yeah, I love the insecurity driving him. I think that kind of insecurity is so effective for a villain because it makes them less predictable and less in control and thus more scary. This is offset a smidge because Jonas holds his leash, but still, it's
it's what makes Flag so scary is that he's just so unpredictable.
Yeah, and it reminds me of Joe Pesci in Casino.
Yeah,
it's like there's the scene with the pen. And De Niro's like, I'm just wondering why this dude's like being a prick, and I'm blanking on his name. I want to call him Tommy, but it's not Tommy. He's like, he just started hitting him and stabbing him in the throat with the pen. Like he's like, yeah. It's just when someone's just when they're a fucking Wolverine, like you can't predict, and like that just makes someone scary. And when those kind of characters are on screen, they just make you unnerved because it's like you never know what's going to happen. I think the Joker was that way.
Yeah,
in the Dark Knight.
especially when you have a character that you love, like Rachel in the Dark Knight is interacting with him. It's like, oh God, what's going to happen to her? That's a fucking like you said, a Wolverine.
Yeah. You never know when it'll bite. So, and then my next note, he Michael Myers'd him, but to a bed instead of a wall.
Yep. Or a door.
Yeah, good Halloween one reference. I always love that. So,
and then you already kind of alluded to it, and the Coffin Hunter's plan is in motion. Here we go.
Yep, indeed. So the story-long clock has struck 0 at last.
Yep.
So little do our boys know it as well. They're on a 24-hour delay. They don't know the game has started yet, but the game we now know has full-on started. Yep. So going over to Subchapter 2, shortly before 5 o'clock, Mayor Thorin woke from a terrible dream. A bird with pink eyes,
good Lord,
had been cruising slowly back and forth above the barony.
Good Lord.
Wherever its shadow fell, the grass turned yellow, leaves fell from trees, and crops died. The shadow was turning his green and pleasant barony into a wasteland. It was his barony, but it was his bird too, he had thought before he awoke. His bird that he had brought here and let out of its cage. He knew there would be no more sleep for him that night because now he has woken up now. So he poured a glass of water and drank it and then walked to his study. The puff on the end of his nightcap bobbed as he walked, knees cracking with every step. So that's gross. As for his guilt, what was done was done. Jonas and his men would have what they came for, and then in parentheses, and had paid handsomely for. I think the other thing I just want to pause and just mention that, like, I think there's been some times we've kind of thought that he might just be the idiot that people run the throne behind him, but I think this is absolute proof that he's knowledgeable of everything that's going on, and he got part of the payday. So that just...
He's got the guilt.
Yeah, so he's got way more guilt, because I think early on it was very ambiguous. I think we even debated, like, is this just Rimer that's the power behind the throne, you know, that was pulling the strings while he's just this horny old man that, like, I just let him go play with his girls and stuff and, like, will run things type thing. Like, kind of the useful...
Can I get you to sign this, sir?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Meanwhile, the person that it's having him sign is bosomed, so he's looking at that instead of what he's signing.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of the useful idiot.
Yeah.
But this is now showing us 100%. He's not a useful idiot.
Nope, he was in on it.
He was in on it.
I think we did have one scene with him where it was like, let Rimer do his thing. I don't care as long as I get what I want, kind of thing. So we kind of knew that he was in on it, but it was just like, how much does he actually know?
Yeah.
Because it's just like one of those things where he says like, I don't care, keep it to yourselves. But this is showing like, no, he knows quite a bit more than just.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Hey, we're gonna make you some money. It's not just that.
Yeah. Indeed. Baraki says King uses a bumbler in the new Cujo instead of a dog. I mean, there is a boy to be attacked, so
and his name's Tad.
That could work. So then, in another day, a day after that, they'd be gone. He'd be dipping his wick too. So that's a fun visual to think about from his mind. To think about, and he'd be dipping his wick too much to think about things too much, or to dream such dreams. Besides, dreams without visible signs were just dreams, not omens. So he had a similar dream as his wife. Very unsettling for us. We know what is going to go down, roughly anyway. But these omens don't make us feel great about how it will go. We know Roland will survive, but beyond that, anything can go wrong here. This is just perfect King in the sense that he's just ramping the fucking tension up for us, because it's like, I mean, it's just funny too that this all fell in one chapter, right?
Yeah.
Because think of it, if the chapters had been length long enough where we would have went chapter to chapter, we wouldn't have had like this same. But the fact that we crossed over half of 6 and then half of 7 means that this bird thing is all through this episode. Like, whereas if that had been split into 2 episodes, there could have been a chance where it's like, oh, there were birds kind of mentioned last week or last episode, last month, you know. But the fact that this split the way it did, I'm almost happy that we're not in a neat chapter box,
right?
Because this is like the theme of the episode is birds.
Yeah. Also, I wonder how I didn't take a note for this, but hearing you say it out loud. I wonder what Thorin would say when he says, besides dreams without visible signs were just dreams, not omens. I wonder what he would say if he had looked outside and saw the fucking moon.
Yeah, the red moon. Yeah.
Maybe.
Or, you mentioned earlier, and I wanted to wait until now to answer it, you said, what if he had woken up with Olive?
And they compared notes to their dreams.
Because at that point, would that not be all the signs you need, where it's like, you essentially have the same dream? Like, there's minor differences, but like,
if he had woken up then, that was the night before. So that was 2 days before reaping. This is the night before reaping. The day before reaping now at 5 a.m. So it's different nights. He hadn't had the dream yet. So
yeah.
So I guess that's.
And he probably would have just wrote it off as her dream influencing him if he had had it the next night or a similar one. So. Did you get your note as well?
Dude, the image of him walking around in a fucking nightgown with the nightcap with a little puffy ball on it and everything like that. Like, what the hell, dude?
Are those real?
Yes.
I've only ever seen them in cartoons.
I've seen them in real life.
Like sleeping hats with puffy balls on top. Are you kidding me?
They're real.
I don't know, man.
They're real.
That seems like
I'm gonna buy one just so you can have it.
That seems like cartoon nonsense to me. I couldn't do that. It'd mess up my hair.
Yes,
so,
absolutely, Ted. Your beautiful golden locks.
Yeah, I'm like Everett from Oh Brother Where Art Thou. I comb my hair before I go to bed. So when I wake up, I go, my hair. Also, one difference is the eyes of the bird were pink for him. We, of course, know what that is about. It makes me wonder if the ball is causing these dreams across the entire barony, as well as Susan's dread. So we have seen what the Bens are capable of. So maybe they push some of that energy out and are giving these people smaller versions of what it puts off, right?
Yeah.
Like Rhea's getting like heavy dose, but also is Rhea adding to it? Her power, is it amplifying
her witch powers and everything?
Yeah, it's like exactly. It's kind of like Gandalf, right? Gandalf is so dangerous when it's like he can't touch the ring because if it were to take him, like the world's over. Like there's no stopping him. And it's like could be the same thing here, where it's like if it were just Shimi that had the ball, that's one thing. It would still entrap him and destroy him. But I don't know if that would necessarily amplify the power like Rhea would. And it kind of makes me wonder if there is kind of like an invisible pink cloud that's just spread over this entire area.
Yeah, what happens if Alan gets his hands on the ball because he has the touch?
Yeah, exactly. So I do, and Baraki kind of mentioned that earlier in the chat as well. So I waited to not say that because basically I had a note saying a very similar thing. I do actually 100% think that the grapefruit is potentially. I mean, not to say that there's not bad shit coming, but it's like we haven't necessarily got a lot in this world to make us think that like there's always like these dreams and premonitions before big terrible events. We've seen a lot of terrible events that we've had no warning about.
We
at
also
all,
haven't seen much of this world. I mean, let's be perfectly honest.
But through Roland with the modern quartet, we've seen sometimes where some bad shit's gone down. Nobody had bad dreams the night before. Like this isn't like something that's established.
Like Hacks the cook and everything like that. No one was like, I have a dream.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening.
Or Eddie isn't having a nightmare like the day before they get to like. There's just we've seen plenty of bad shit go down that wasn't preceded by dreams. So like it does make me kind of wonder if like not to discredit that there isn't premonitions in some way, but the fact there's so fucking many of them, it's like this is clearly something else going on.
Yeah, and I think you have so many people reacting to different things. Susan just has a feeling. Roland even has a little bit of a feeling. Yeah. And then you got Coral and the mayor having dreams and everything. It's stacking up to say
or
like
all of
something.
You mean.
Yeah, Olive.
Yeah,
sorry,
Cora,
Olive.
But and they're basically having the same dream. The only difference is the color of the eyes, and then it's blood versus killing the crops and the vegetation.
Yeah,
and it's like both of those are obviously very apropos, right? Because ultimately,
I mean, they're very similar. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we also know the future enough to know that like the world's going to move on. And we're going to get to a spot where there's going to be desolation throughout most of this world.
Yeah.
So like, and there's going to probably be a lot of blood. I don't think we've necessarily had that full on revealed to us yet. But I don't think there's many of us that have read the first 3 books that thought, oh yeah, Roland's world went peacefully into moving on. No, we probably assume there's some blood that led to that. So
yeah,
it's all very indicative of stuff that we already know is going to happen, even larger than this story, right? Like maybe both of the Thorin's dreams are visions of like 50 years from now.
Right.
Well, maybe even a lot shorter. The whole place is going to be covered in blood because of the battles. And then after that, you're just going to see the absolute fucking desolation of the crops. You're going to see like, what was the Dust Bowl in the 20th century? Like just an absolute, like, which of course is death in a world like this, right?
Yeah.
Like there is no, like the magics that we have, like, I mean, not to say that famines still can't happen in our world, but we at least have some protections that we could offset them a little bit. This world, no. This is 100% an agrarian society. Like the crops all dying, like that's easy for us to overlook that. But for someone like Thorin, that could mean the death of your entire town. Mm-hmm. Like for like the trees, the grass, but also the crops. Like that's disastrous.
Yeah.
So we've talked about that a couple episodes back because we were talking about like the harvest and how important that is to like carry you over through the winter and shit.
Well, that's why reaping is so important to them.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. So I love the idea of the dreams without signs were just dreams, not omens. That feels like a hard rule in this world. It feels like something that everyone kind of knows, right? I would question if he would be so dismissive if he had, treated with his wife and they actually knew, or if he treated his wife right and he actually knew and saw they were having the same dream. I think that might be enough to give him a red alert. You also mentioned the moon as well. That could be a sign as well. That gets a little bit into like the Tolkien element of like what is it? Is it the red moon? No, whatever the moon's risen, blood has been spilled this night.
Yeah, a red moon rises.
Red moon.
Blood has been spilled this night.
Yeah, so
good old Legolas.
Yeah, except this is in advance, and we also can't like sweep that away. We understand that this is one of King's Tolkien inspired works. So
Exactly.
I feel like you could never discredit Tolkien stuff when you're looking at either The Stand or The Dark Tower, because both of those are germs that grew out of Tolkien, where King's like, I want to do an American Tolkien.
Yeah.
The Stand, I want to do a grand, massive fucking story like Tolkien. Dark Tower. So,
Right.
yeah. So then going on, the visible sign might have been the scuffed boot beneath the study drape, but he never looked in that direction. His eyes were fixed on the bottle beside his favorite chair. Drinking at 5 a.m. was not a habit to get into, but once wouldn't hurt, unless you're on vacation. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, it's 5 o'clock there.
Yeah, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. They never said p.m., so...
Yeah, it's not 5 p.m. somewhere.
Yeah,
it's 5.
They just say 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
It was a bad dream, and tomorrow was reaping after all. He poured a drink, and the last he would ever have in this world. He coughed after drinking it, and he stretched and cracked his knuckles viciously, which is how King described it. Which,
Ugh.
yeah, that's gross. Which I crack my knuckles too, but still,
Not viciously.
Not viciously, and I'm also not a pedophile old man.
Yes.
So, a voice told him that he hated when he did that. The voice is directly in his left ear. Thorin jumped and dropped his glass, which shattered as there was no carpet there. Before Thorin could scream, Roy knocked his hat off, grabbed him by what remained of his hair, and pulled his head back and sliced his throat with a knife far more humble than the one Clay had used. But the cut was efficient enough. Blood sprayed the room. Roy went back to the curtain and grabbed Cuthbert's lookout and put it in the lap of the dying mayor. That's not good.
Nope.
Speaking of which,
Hey.
Thorin gargled the word "bird" twice through the through a mouthful of blood. Roy thought he meant the lookout and complimented him on noticing at a time like this. Which, funny how you crossed the wires there. He then used the knife to pluck out both of the mayor's eyes. One went into the dead fireplace, and the other slid down the wall by the fire tools. That's fun.
Not only plucked them out, you flicked them across the room.
Yeah, that's brutal. Oh, man. Mike also chimed in. Hi, all. Just finished dinner. I stopped in to say hi or happy birthday to Kathy Bates, America's favorite Airbnb host.
Hey.
Happy birthday to Kathy Bates. I will, from afar, tell you happy birthday.
I'll give her a hug.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
that's fine. Then he says, see you on Geekery Abides. See ya, Mike. So Roy had one more job to do. He grabbed the mayor's nightcap and used the ball in the end, dipped it in the mayor's blood, and drew the good man's sigil. And then in parentheses I put, which is a version of the Eye of the Crimson King that we've already become familiar with. On the wall, he said that would finish the boys. If that didn't, nothing would. The only question that remained was if the boys would be taken alive.
Yeah. And that's the subchapter, right?
That's the subchapter, yep.
Yeah, and my first note here, wait. If the boys would be taken alive? Wait, hold on. If?
Yeah. Run that by me again.
What do you mean, if?
Yeah, indeed. I mean, at least he got one last drink before he got what he deserved. Because let's be honest, no one feels bad for this guy.
No.
There's everything about him. He was in on it. The pedophile stuff, just...
how he treats his wife.
Treating his wife, attacking Susan. There's all kinds of...
Yucky.
Horrible things. This is a very good frame job.
It's masterful. Also, call back to Olive's Dream, we've referenced several times now.
Which we already kind of knew a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Because we knew the Coffin Hunters had the lookout. We didn't necessarily full on know that would be the absolute connection. But the skull in his lap, now it makes sense. And we knew they had the lookout for a couple chapters now. So
yeah, and Olive's Dream was him dead with
no
his
eyes.
Throat slit, eyes cut out, and a bird skull in his
just
lap.
a skull is what it said.
Oh, a skull? I thought it said a bird
just said a skull in his lap. Because the first time you read it, you could just be like, oh, that's really sinister. Is this Hamlet? But now this makes sense. It's no, it's a bird skull. So we've talked previously that it is uncomfortable that Farson was preaching democracy and Roland's people represented the aristocracy. But I guess the fact that Farson's sigil is one we have seen, albeit in the future, as the mark of the Crimson King. So democracy is just a means of laying the world to waste, not really altruism or
that's what,
the right thing.
Remember us having that conversation where I brought that up? What the fuck happened?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's what we were supposed to have, but obviously they won.
Yeah.
Gilead fell. So where's this great democracy that we heard about?
But I've also pointed out there's a lot of revolutionaries that end up failing as leaders.
Yeah.
It's easy to run a revolution relatively.
It's hard to run
a lot harder to run things. So
yeah.
That's a tale as old as time for sure. But I will say, and there's also some fan theories out there that Farson might actually be the Crimson King.
Yeah.
That's a fan theory that's floated online every so often.
Yep.
So because of the sigil is a main part of it, it's like, so does he then like gain this power and then like essentially
elevates himself
become
to
the Crimson? I mean, I think there's some issues with that, but that's an interesting thought. So
yeah.
Subchapter 3. This will be our second to last subchapter.
Yeah, we have one more after this, so let's hoof it. Jonas told Fran Langell exactly where to put his men, 2 inside the stable and 6 more out, 2 hidden in the burnt-out remains of the home place, and 1 on top the stable itself. Langell was glad to see the men of the posse took their job seriously. They were only boys, but on one occasion had come off ahead of the big coffin hunters. Sheriff Avery gave the impression of being in charge until they got close to the barquet. Then Langell, who was sitting straighter in his saddle than he had when he was 20, took command. Avery looked nervous and sounded out of breath and seemed relieved instead of offended. My note here, oh boy, here we go. Nice to see the boys getting some respect, but at the same time, that means they aren't getting underestimated, so they don't have that to counter it and everything like that.
Yeah.
And then also, just like we saw what just happened to Rimer and Avery, we saw the blood moon, you know, and everything like that, so we're like, shit's kicking off.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, going back to like your last note of the last subchapter, when if they're taken alive, the other part that I start stressing about is, again, we know Roland survives. What if we're about to see the death of Cuthbert, for instance, which would be, I mean, devastating, right?
Yeah. What if Cuthbert or Elan gets shot down right here?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's indeed. But to you mentioning signs reminded me of that thought too.
Yeah.
I love that Jonas micromanaged this portion of it. Shows that he's not going to take any chances with the boys. Not
he
this
underestimated
time.
him once. That's the kind of thing.
And I think
right?
I think the not underestimating is 100% him. I think the rest of them, if left to their own devices, if Jonas weren't here, I think they would underestimate him. Maybe not all the way, but I think they would still underestimate them. But I think Jonas, I think Roland said it even, where it's like after the showdown, this will never fucking happen again. No. And I think we even talked about that, where it's like, yeah, we're fist pumping, like that was the coolest scene, but there was a part of it where it's like, that's never going to happen again. You just kind of you just revealed your whole card.
Well, I think it's also kind of said here in this section right here that Langell was glad to see the men of the posse took their job seriously. They were only boys, but on one occasion to come off ahead of the big coffiner. So you got Langell already is like, I'm not underestimating him,
for
but
sure. But I wonder if he would have underestimated him. Maybe just not laid it out as well or something. Like he's still like holding them in high regard, but he's not smart enough to the same level Jonas is, where Jonas is like, I want your people here. Like I just feel like Jonas is like drawing the play up, because it's like, I'm not leaving a single fucking thing to you. You may not take them as lightly
I don't trust you.
Yeah, exactly. So also, I love Avery not caring that Langell took over. Shows exactly the kind of man and leader he really is. Not that we doubted it. He has been worthless this entire story.
Exactly.
So yeah. Indeed.
Langell says it is a good plan, and he says he only has one thing. They don't need the boys alive, but it's best if they do take them alive. It is the barony we want to put paid to them. The common folk to put paid to the whole business, to shut the door on it. So if there's a cause to shoot, then shoot. But he will flay the skin off the face of any man who shoots without cause. He asks if they understand, and no one says a word. So they understand. Langell says, all right, I'll give you a minute and make sure your gear is muffled, then we go. And not another word from here on out.
Yeah, so this makes perfect sense. It's going to play way better for them if the town kills them in the name of justice versus just these men doing it kind of off screen, right? So,
because especially if it's not done in town with witnesses and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Just like, oh, we went to arrest the boys and they drew a gun. It's like, okay, show me the body cam footage.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, there's always
doubt.
There's that question nowadays. We have that doubt sometimes where we hear things happen this way, and it's like, okay, show me.
Like Jack Ruby. If that weren't on camera, how many more conspiracy theories would there be?
Right.
Just the Jack Ruby
shooting Lee Harvey Oswald, who assassinated the president, just for anyone who doesn't know the names.
Yeah, if that weren't on live television, like, I just feel like that would have, not that there's not a million.
Yeah, sure, some random guy was able to get into the basement of the police precinct and was able to shoot Lee Harvey Oswald, who had just assassinated the president. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay, Tad. I get what you're telling me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, there's already a million conspiracy theories, but there'd probably be 1.5 million if that footage didn't exist.
I think there'd be 2 million if that.
Oh, man. So I remember wondering if it might give our boys an advantage as well. Just the fact that they're trying to take them alive. Because if they just wanted to just gun them down, like how much our boys would be fucked. Our boys would have no chance.
No.
There'd be
They're outnumbered.
so.
They're caught unaware and everything like that.
Yeah,
right?
they're going to literally be caught with their pants down. Like,
Yeah.
probably, maybe they'll have their pants up by the time they walk in,
Hopefully.
But it's like, ultimately, yeah, they don't, because again, our boys are at a complete loss because they thought this all goes down tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, and now they're about to wake up to.
And they thought they were making their first move, but they
yeah.
find out that they're not.
They're not. Nope. First moves have been made. So.
Yep.
And then you got
And so my
Joker note here.
And here we go.
Indeed. So subchapter 4, our boys come out of the bunkhouse 6:15 that morning and stood side by side on the porch. Alan finishing his coffee, Cuthbert yawning and stretching, Roland buttoning his shirt, looking southeast toward the bad grass.
Notice that Cuthbert's joints don't crack when he stretches, so good sign.
I mean,
there.
he's only 14, so yeah.
Good sign. Good sign.
Not thinking about ambushes, but of Susan, specifically her calling it greedy old caw and how much she hated it. Roland's instinct did not wake, nor did Alan's touch, which had sensed Jonas the day he had killed their pigeons. As for Bert, and I got a line directly from the book, quote, one more day of quiet that worthy exclaim into the dawn sky, one more day of grace, one more day of silence broken only by the lover's sigh and the tattoo of horses' hooves. One more, and then that's the end of his line, and then Alan picks up and says, one more day of your bullshit, Alan said, come on.
Yeah.
So that's great. They set off across the yard, not sensing the 8 pairs of eyes on them. They walked into the stable past 2 hidden men flanking the door. Both men had guns drawn. Only Rusher sensed something wrong. He was stamping his feet and rolling his eyes and reared as Roland tried to back him out of the stall. Roland tried to calm him, thinking it was spiders. Outside, Langale waved both hands forward, and the men moved silently toward the front of the stable on the roof. Dave Hollis stood with the gun drawn. Cuthbert led his mount out of the stable. Alan followed, and Roland came last with his nervous horse. Bert, unaware of their predicament, pointed out a cloud shaped like a bear and began to say something about good luck when he was cut off.
Dun, dun, dun.
If King can do it, I can too. Man, oh man, this is just masterful tension building here. I feel like you can't breathe reading this.
No.
It just feels like edge of your seat. Also, Cuthbert, never stop being you. That's my notes here for Cuthbert.
Pointing at a cloud that looks like, hey, that one looks like a bear.
And it's good luck. Like he's in the middle of saying it's good luck. I remember being terrified here. Again, we know Roland is safe, but the other two not so much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then just going on with like what you said, the line at the end of the last subchapter about if they could be taken alive really resonates right now. So
yeah, indeed. So then going on here, we got a couple more sections. Langale, of this subchapter, Langale told him not to move, not even to shuffle their feet. Alan did not begin to turn out of startlement more than anything else, and there was a ripple of clicking sounds of guns being cocked. Roland called out no and told Alan not to move, with despair in his throat and tears of rage stinging the corners of his eyes. He stood still, and his friends must as well, or they would be killed. He told them not to move. Langale approved and told them to put their hands behind their back. Roland saw Langale and Avery approaching, and Roland is warned again to put his hands behind his back, and there were guns on them. If they were only going to arrest 2 of them, life would go on. So that's not a fun thing to say.
yeah.
I mean, probably fun for those guys, but not fun for our boys. Roland thought that they were not taking any chances with the boys, and he felt a perverse pride. Along with that taste of almost amusement was bitterness. Cuthbert called out to him by his real name, telling him not to do it, but Roland did. Langale told him he would feel metal on his wrists, and he did as the cuffs closed. Voice told Bert he was next, and Bert answered that he'd be damned if he would. And he was and his voice is nearly hysterical. There was a thud and a cry of pain. Roland turned and saw Alan down on his knees, hands against his forehead, blood running down his face. Let's see. Jake White asked if he wanted him to deal Alan another one, and was holding his pistol like a club, and said he was feeling mighty limber this morning. Cuthbert said no with a mix of horror and grief, and did as he was told, and was cuffed. Alan was picked up and cuffed as well. Roland's eyes met Alan's, and Al tried to smile. In some way, this was the worst moment of the ambush this terrible morning. And Roland made himself a promise. He would never be taken like this again. Not if he lived to be 1,000 years old. So, and to his credit,
I don't think
we've seen, and I think I have a note on this, but so yeah, I had an outside hope that our boys could get out of this somehow, but this was dispelled here. These men were ready.
Oh, yeah.
There's no slacking. There's no. It's like old action movies, right? You always just waited for that one idiot guard to do something. Like usually there was something.
He like turns his back on the doorway to take out a Twinkie, and the guy sneaks past him.
Yeah, exactly. Or puts headphones on or something.
Yeah.
Was
Was that someone whistling for me to come over there?
Nowadays, it'd be great to do it because you just have them with AirPods. Like the
Yeah.
guard just puts AirPods in and he's just listening to music.
Yeah, the guy, the good guy trips and knocks over a garbage can, looks at the guy, and he's like, and then the guy turns and you see AirPods in his ears, and he's just kind of.
Yeah. Also, 2 points for Jonas on moving early. It would have been it was the better Castles move.
I think Jonas's all-in approach worked.
Yeah, indeed. I'm not sure I have ever fully clocked that Cuthbert outed Roland's real name here. Too much else going on to realize the significance of that.
I've never caught that.
Yeah.
I never.
But doing this, I was like, wait a minute. He just called him Roland
He just said Roland.
in front of this entire group of enemies. So that's kind of a big moment that I think I've missed every time I've ever read this. So again, I love these book clubs. So blows my mind.
Yeah.
Not that it matters at this point. I mean, the
jig is up.
Yeah, exactly. The secrecy is no longer necessary. So Roland feeling pride at being handled this way, I get that, but ultimately this is where the Traveler's Rest showdown fucked our boys over. They showed that they were not just boys, but dangerous, and Jonas is not going to take any chances with them. Whereas, like, if that hadn't happened, this all might go very differently, and it might, like, they could probably just upset this entire plan. Maybe Roland's plan would have been perfect, and it just would have been without any issue. But the Traveler's Rest kind of spun this whole thing to where here we are. So, Bert is losing his composure, and my compliments to the men that hit Alan in order to get Cuthbert reined in. That's really smart because someone in panic is going to value themselves far less than a friend.
Yeah.
So, in fact, that probably would have just made it worse if they had hit Cuthbert. Like, I think, like, his hysteria may have then turned into rage.
All right, it's go time.
Yeah, Cuthbert would have been killed, I think, 100%. But hitting Alan, he's got those puppy dog eyes and stuff. So, it's
like
just
kicking a puppy.
Yeah, exactly. Roland learned because we've seen Roland outmaneuvered the Bridge of Lud for one, but never like this. That was kind of the note I almost alluded to earlier, where it's like we have seen Roland bested a couple times, or outmaneuvered, I guess is how I worded it here. I think that's the perfect word for it, but he's never been caught like this. He's just so Roland.
I wonder if that's why he's so mad after the showdown with Gasher on the bridge. He's just like, damn it! He's like, I promised myself I'd never be taken like this again.
Yeah, I mean that was different.
And it was too close.
It was close.
It was too close to it. It's the same ballpark. I'm pissed off. You know, kind of thing.
Exactly.
There's a line at the end of this paragraph about Lango wearing the same boxtail coat that he wore to the mayor's welcoming party. Yeah. Interesting to be like the best dressed for this kind of work.
Yeah.
He shows up to a party in a certain coat and then shows up to arrest the boys in the same coat.
Yeah. But that
shows
what
kind of person
he understands that this is going to be a big moment too, right? Like this could be something that could like launch a political career for him, for instance.
If
right?
he's riding into town with these traitors in their eyes, and we find out here in the next little bit that they're murderers and treason is what they're saying.
Which we already know.
Yeah,
because the murders and then the Farson sigil,
all of that is supposed to paint our boys in a bad light.
Yeah,
so he's going to be riding into town with these boys and be like, "Hey, look what I did."
Yeah, indeed.
So he wants to look good for that.
Yeah. So Avery told them that they were under arrest for treason and murder. Alan asked mildly who they murdered, and one of the posse laughed, either in shock or cynicism. They are told that the mayor and his chancellor, as they well knew.
Pause it.
Yeah.
That's the callback I was waiting for. This is where Avery knows about the murders. He has to, otherwise how could he tell him that they murdered the mayor and chancellor here?
I mean...
That's it.
I think by now the bodies could have been discovered as well.
No, it's too early. This is less than an hour after the mayor's murdered. You can't have that news travel that fast. No, he's in on it. This is where you confirm. Okay, he's like fully in on it. He knows the full plan. He knows that the mayor and the chancellor are dead.
Yeah, maybe. So Roland looked at Langil and asked how he could do this. Magus was his home, and he had seen the line of his fathers in the cemetery. He asked again how he could do this to his home. Langil said he had no intentions of palavering with Roland, and then told one of his men to get the boys' horses, and boys as trig as them would have no issue riding cuffed. And then I got a direct quote here. "No, tell me," Roland interposed. "Don't hold back," sighed Langil. "These are all your friends you've come with, and not one who isn't inside your circle. How can you do it? How would you rape your own, or would you rape your own mother if you came upon her sleeping with her dress up?" That's brutal. Langell's mouth twitched, not with shame or embarrassment, but with prudish distaste. He looked at Avery and said they taught him to talk pretty in Gilead, don't they? Which is funny that they think him from Gilead now. Only Cuthbert was from Gilead as far as any of them were concerned. Avery threatened to hit Roland with his... so I guess, no, they probably would have been given the stuff that was found when, what's-his-name, rode their back trail. I always forget which of the two it was. But...
Reynolds.
So that's probably where they're like, yeah, we know they're all from Gilead. So Avery threatened to hit Roland with a rifle if Langell told him to, but Langell said he did not want to bring them lying over their saddles unless he was, or over his saddle unless he was dead. Avery lowered his rifle. Langell then looked at Roland and told him that he would not live long enough to profit from the advice, but he would give him some anyway. He said to stick with winners in this world and know which way the wind was blowing so you could change with it. Bert told him that he had forgotten the face of his father and called him a scurrying maggot. This struck Langell in a way that nothing Roland had said did, and color blossomed on his face. He told the men to get the boys mounted up. He wanted to have them locked up tight within the hour. So
yeah,
so that's the end of the subchapter and the end of the episode. I got a couple notes. We have a couple notes here, of course, but we know Alan is genuinely wondering who was killed, but from the other men's perspective, that's probably the exact same thing that every murder ever is going to say, right? Like that's just.
What do you mean? Who's dead?
Yeah, who's dead?
What,
like that's
what happened?
Feels
you
like
shot the president. What? The president's dead? What?
Yeah, exactly. So, credit to Alan, that's a real question, but they're never going to believe that's a real question.
I just love how calm Alan is asking it too. It's just like, who did we kill?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm sorry, sir. I can't hear you.
Yeah, exactly. I love that Langell is struck by Roland's line here, but more out of prudishness than pride. Says a lot about him. He's cool with murdering Pat and betraying the affiliation, but bad language is too far.
How dare you say that about my mother?
Yeah.
That is just foul, sir.
Yeah, exactly.
Also shows just how much of an insult it is to say someone forgot the face of their father, or calling him a maggot, I guess, is technically it's one of those two, but I think it's
or
the
both.
Face. I think it's the face of the father, personally.
Yeah.
And also just a reminder that Cordelia has said that several times to Susan through the course of this book. So if it's the slap in the face of Fran Langell, then how much of it a slap in the face is it to Susan, and how much of a piece of shit is Cordelia for saying that?
Indeed.
Just can't resist the option, the chance to point out that Cordelia is a piece of shit.
Is the worst. Then Langell is maybe talking for everyone who is part of the plot in terms of why they are doing it. I love this from King because chances are we're not going to have a lot of time to figure out why these people are doing what they're doing. So to have Langell give this advice here, it gives us a likely reason why most of the town is probably the most town that's involved are probably going at it for the same reasons.
Yep.
So without really bogging down the story too much, it's a way to quickly kind of for King to at least answer a question of like, why is this? Because we still don't ultimately know, like, why are all these people doing this? Like, there's a couple people that are going to get a lot of money from it.
Yep.
But what about I don't think there's enough money to go for all these people to be getting paid off a time.
I think it just kind of trickles down as the thing.
A bit for
I
probably,
still think of like that line in Arkham City, Batman Arkham City, where Penguin's talking to a guy on the radio, and he's like, anyone who kills Batman, tell him I'll give him a cool $1 million. He's like, very generous of you, sir. All right, guys, listen up. Penguin says if we kill anyone who kills the bat, it gets a $500,000. It's like, I see what you did, you motherfucker.
Yeah.
I kind of think of that as like, it's going to start at the top, but I think the benefits trickle down.
Yeah,
you know?
So we may or may not agree with the pragmatism of these people, but in a world like this, you can't necessarily fault their logic entirely.
Yeah.
Then my last note, Bert calling him a maggot is funny only because we've heard Court say that so often, both in real life and as well as in Roland's head.
Yeah.
So it just feels like a younger kid that is swearing, but not necessarily because he or she knows what they're saying, but it's what they've heard mom and dad say all the time, so they're just parroting it. I just love that. It just feels...
I mean, I've done it. My parents didn't swear, but I've done it what I hear in films.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, indeed.
So... growing up when it's like, oh, that's a new swear word, write that down for later.
And me, it was just, being in the back seat when my parents are in traffic, and I learned to paint like a Victorian artist with swearing.
The Renaissance through Tad.
Yes, indeed. All right, so that is the end of this episode, and that we will pick back up in a little less than a month. So we're back on schedule, so the 5th and then the 19th
Yeah, the
our
19th is our next book club.
which is great. So let's go ahead and hit the outro stuff real quick. If you want to subscribe to us, you can do that on any podcasting service of your choice. You can stream us on Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, all kinds of fun places. Join us for our live streams here at youtube.com/darktowerpalaver, as a number of people did, and we're part of the discussion. And if you want to find, and you can also watch old episodes on there if you want as well. And also you can leave comments if you're not watching live and you want to chime in on something, feel free. Show notes are at darktowerpalaver.com. And if you want to support the show, it's over at patreon.com/darktowerpalaver. And if you want to contact us and give us maybe some of your Cordelia defenses, you can send that in a number of ways. And Peter can let you know the ways to do that.
Best way is to email us at show@darktowerpalaver.com. I found it's better just not to acknowledge what he said. And then you can also find us on all of our social medias. We got Threads and Instagram, Dark Tower Palaver, all one word, no spaces. And then Blue Sky at darktowerpalaver.bsky.social. And then on our Twitter, it's at darktowerpod. That's at darktowerpod. And then facebook.com/darktowerpalaver for that one. And then find our merch at tpublic.com/users/darktowerpalaver.
Yes, indeed. And again, we'll be back in 1 week from today for our next roundtable. Can't wait. July 5th. So it'll be the day after Independence Day.
Yeah, we'll be able to talk about Life of Chuck finally.
Yeah, that as well. So can't wait for that. So see you guys then in not a fortnight, in a week, or on Geekery Abides in a few minutes if you want to join us over there. But until then, we'll sign off as we always do by saying long days and pleasant nights.
Long days and pleasant nights, folks.
All right, everyone in the chat, thank you all for joining us. We got to run quick. We run a little over on time, but thank you all for joining us. You guys are awesome. Thanks for being part of it all. And we will see you in a week or see you on Geekery Abides.
Bye, everyone.
See you guys.